Hello, hello, happy Monday. So Adam is going to figure out how to improve challenge mode today. It's it's already undergone one major revision, but he still thinks there are problems. It'll be a game design day. Hey, Sinicello, how was the weekend? And Hypnotic Bind. Wait a second. The equinox is today? I thought it was yesterday. It is today. Huh. Okay, so tenants. Let's go start with that. Actually, I think there's room for improvement for me on this because I feel like we've failed the sustainability thing. I ended up taking more time off last week than I had expected. I think this generally happens around the time that I launch something new because I want to get feedback on what I've been working so hard on. The feedback this weekend hasn't been super great. And I did need the break. Gotta keep an eye on how to avoid this in the future. All right, bricklaying. Yeah, this went well. I was working pretty steadily toward a release and not wasting the opportunity. This is related to the sustainability tenet in that I think I should be working at a decent pace and not feeling like I need to take a break. Hey, 3D Code Warrior. Surprised to be awake. Didn't get my entire 8 hours. How much did you get? Also, this is something I wanted to check. Let me see something really fast on my phone. Oh, never mind. Oh, wait. No, maybe never mind. Okay. Yeah. I have a sleep monitoring thing because I use a CPAP machine and it tells me some stuff. And it says I had it on for like 5 hours or something like that. I almost always wake up in the middle of the night and take it off. Al's just got a new eye mask for blocking out any lights. Anyway, I'll see if that stuff improves my sleep. So yeah, I think tenants could go better. I think the main thing on my mind is challenge mode. And yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Also, as far as metrics go, so we've now had 11 people play 52 runs overall, but I'm guessing a couple people played more than others. Hey, Flashburn. So could I do this like order by metrics ID and not the count, but maybe just the run ID? I guess we need to select metrics ID as well. Okay, there we go. All right, so this lets us see how many runs we had per person. So this person had 5, this person had like more than 10, this person had a bunch. Oh, actually, there's only one, no, sorry. Yeah, there's only one person who had a single run. This person had 2, this person had 3, this person had 4. Oh no, this person also only had 1. This person had 3. So I wonder these runs where they only did 1. I wonder why they stopped. Hey, Zeletics. Hey, Sorrow. What identity crisis are we solving today? Challenge mode. What is it supposed to look like? What is it supposed to do? I don't think there's anything else I want to look at in the metrics. I just want to look at the overall metrics. And maybe I'll write this down in the stream of consciousness note. But yeah, we got to get to game design pretty soon. Metrics, 11 unique players for 52 total runs. 2 people did only a single run. Yeah, I could probably write a better query and actually just print out those stats, but I don't really want to do that right now. What feedback did you get? Okay, so I I've got most of it in this list, but not all of it. So hang on one sec. Yeah, let me write down what Glassfire had said. Glassfire. Copy link. Randomness is challenging. I'm summarizing this. Buying town perks. Didn't like twists. Most people didn't like twists. Which is too bad. And what else? Wanted faster meta progression. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the general feedback was, if I had to sum it up, it's like people don't like twists in the game. They have a positive and negative aspect, and the negative aspect is somewhat punishing. What else? People want faster meta progression. In general, they also want kind of more meaningful meta progression. This I'm not super concerned with. Like, let's say we're just talking about a normal RPG and it's like +1 damage or +1 dodge or something like that. It's like, this isn't really meaningful, right? It's not like every time you do an attack, there's a chance to spawn lightning and it does whatever. It's just some stats. So anyway, yeah, but people did comment on that. What else? Oh yeah, the game doesn't feel too different from the base game, and runs don't feel different from one another. And what else do we have here? Yeah, those are the main things, I think. Excuse me. Hey Ryan, been out of the loop. How'd the launch go? The launch itself was smooth. Challenge mode though is not doing great because of these things. And if I were to, so let me write this down somewhere. I've been writing out pages and pages of stuff to myself, and I've thought of some things here. Improving challenge mode further. So I wonder if I should just start a brand new section. Yeah, let's do improving challenge mode on stream. Oh my God, I cannot type. Date, there we go. I say the main pieces of feedback we got are these. Paste markdown. Okay, so the most important one from my point of view is that the runs don't feel all that different. Hey, Codex. No twists or twists at the beginning, more perk points, crazier perks. Yeah, so I kind of think of this as having like two high-level approaches that we could do. One is address what we're hearing, and two is like redesign challenge mode so that we wouldn't have heard these things. They're sort of the same thing, but I don't know. This is like one of those, you know, if you ask what people wanted, they would have said faster horses sort of thing. Like, then you provide a car. That's kind of what I mean by approach number two. Like, people are saying, oh, hey, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. And then we provide something where it's like, oh my God, I hadn't thought of any of that stuff. So maybe it's not even what challenge mode currently is. But anyway, yeah, so I had a thought today, which hit me in the shower, and shower thoughts are always great, which is this. Main thing I realized is that if we want to change up what you do, then we need multiple ways to do things. I mean, sounds pretty basic, right? At the end of the game, you need to earn money, but right now you only earn money through sales and the garbage line. We need like 1 to 5 other ways that are fully supported. If this is impossible, then we should probably wouldn't aim for changing how you play and just make the challenges into a sandbox or something. So I think this is probably the biggest question I should start with. Is it possible to get runs to feel different? And like, would specializations or like custom challenges do that? Hey, Phil. Because this is one of the things that Xyletics was talking about over this message, I think. No matter what restrictions you place in the same core game, it'll always feel the same because you'll be performing the same actions, sending auto-battling adventurers off for loot and then selling the loot. The nuance of changing which building you have or which minor perks will not change this feeling. Personally, I think it's okay to accept. So I'm not even sure I fully agree with this. And I think the reason why that I don't fully agree with this is a lot of games change something somewhat minor, and yet it feels totally different. And I guess think about this in terms of an RPG. Like, suppose you're playing with a bow versus a sword. You might say, well, you're still attacking enemies, you're still collecting loot, and you're still doing whatever else. But actually, this can potentially represent a pretty big difference in gameplay. Like with a bow, maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you have to like stand still for longer, so you have to position yourself better. Whereas with a sword, you'd want like different defensive stuff. Maybe this isn't a representation of a minor change to a game though. But anyway, I think there could be like, you could be using a sword with fire damage versus not fire damage, and it changes how you play or something along those lines. It's just C+++++. Oh, 7 hours. Okay, that's not bad. Hey, Galaxy Inferno. The specializations did feel rather different. Yeah, so this is what I was leaning toward when I was thinking about this over the last few days, which is basically we remove the difficulty track. This is my proposal. We remove the difficulty track. We instead, well, it's like a linear difficulty track. We instead put in custom challenges with things like, I don't know. Yeah, enemies do like 1000% damage, or the warehouse eats your items or something like that. I don't know. I'm just making things up. But we put in some custom challenges, and then we still allow for meta perks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. In fact, I have this written down somewhere. Where is it? Leaning toward this. So we make specific challenges. We'd be nicer with perk points. That's pretty easy. This is feedback I don't think we need to do anything special about. It's like people said it was too slow, so we just make it faster. No need for a creative solution. I probably need meta perks to be interesting. This, I think we can do a little bit of this. We need to allow, this is a quality of life thing. And then I had a bunch of questions. How do you unlock different challenges? What do we do about twists? Are meta perks saved per challenge? How do we change meta perks? Is this fun? Elite Peer Girl. I'm just going to plug Cauldron again. I feel like they handled the different modes really well. It's the same core game loop essentially, and each playthrough takes about as long as the main one, but the tweaks they do make it interesting enough to play each mode. Yeah, so I wonder, given that you've played Cauldron, I wonder what you would come up with as like, what would tweaks be to the game for Skeleseller that would make you want to spend like X hours trying it out? Did too many hours of language class volunteering today? Oh, nice. Wow. Yeah. Take a load off. Hey, Becca. Hey, Jay. What happened, Becca? So I had a terrible day? Because I think this is the route I want to go, and I want to try it out. I want to think of what like player motivation will be during these things. Because we had, oh man, where is that? Deleted code. Yeah, we had all these specializations, and they all had their own constraints or whatever. Where's this stuff? Here it is. Yeah, farming, adventuring, industry, garbage enjoyer, enchanting, storage enthusiast, chaos pirate, and fishing. And a lot of these were just like start with a system and start with a lot of it kind of maxed out. I don't know how that'd play with meta perks. Let me think on that to see if I can come up with something. Yeah. Because I'd be curious. I do want to spend most of today just thinking about stuff, even if I'm pretty confident in what I'll be doing. I don't want to jump the gun on this because I've already gone through kind of like 2 major design sessions, and it's hard to know, are we like chipping away at the same thing still? So imagine that we start with like problem space is of size 100 at the start, and then we get it down to we get it down to 50, and now we're down to 25. It's like, if this is what's happening, then we are slowly working our way towards some perfect challenge mode singularity point. But it's possible that's not what's happening. It's possible that I'm like, hey, here's a problem space and it's huge, and I trim that down, and I'm like, I just give up on that. And then I start with a new one and I try that out. I think we're in this reality. Conversations will spawn from these questions. It just does not fit into a Twitch chat message. I mean, feel free to type it in Discord if you want, and I can just read it from Discord. Yeah. I went in a general assessment thinking I got this. I got 3 leak code hards, 1 medium. And just something in 10 minutes. What is general assessment? Is this just is this a step in an interview? Is this for an interview or schooling or something? I assume it's for an interview. And look, this stuff is bound to happen. I think interviews are always a bit of a luck of the draw. You could do very well, and you might just have someone who doesn't like you for some reason. And while not liking you shouldn't be a reason for not hiring you, or well, it depends on why they don't like you. I guess it would be a reason for not hiring you. It's like people can't get over their biases. So sometimes, yeah, it seems like it's the best of technical situations and it's a poor sort of soft skills situation. Sometimes it's the opposite. Hey, Scholar. My wife told me my gut is that the different modes path could just be a completely different thing aside from challenge mode. Well, let me put it this way. So we're going to have story mode or whatever, and then we're going to have like something else. I don't really care what we call this something else. I'm calling it challenge mode for right now. But it could be these like 5+ different modes or something in here. So it's basically let's figure out what this something else represents. Yeah, basically they assess you before you get to it. Okay, I see. Yeah, like the way you document everything. Coder's like, started logging my day inspired by your note taking. Started logging note taking. Help me switch jobs, get a promotion. Find out what I did on each day. And you do note down thoughts before I do anything and keep a list of thoughts. Sorry for lengthy message. Want to express? Yeah, I'm glad it's helped. And I think, look, there are pros and cons to doing this. And one, and this is not really a pro or con, but the neutral way is like, this is just how I work. And some people are very visual. So you would see some people writing out design documents by just using like an image editor and being like, okay, so we have whatever story mode over here and we need to get you to something and we're gonna whatever. And then they just draw a bunch of arrows and things. And I do not operate that way. I just can't do that. I aspire for that answer every day, but in the chance she forgets, I want to be there. Well, thank you, Scholar. No, it's okay, Becca. It feels like my fear was realized and that removing the specs would also remove the different feel. It needs to be something that will change the value of individual perks between each run. So what mechanics should drive that? Yeah, I do think my strongest proposal had to do with putting in custom challenges again. But I want to not limit myself to that exactly and think about what is just the most fun thing we could have. And by the way, I made a section here last night saying starting over. Like right now, I've put in, 2 months of work into challenge mode. And as a result, I'd like to come up with a solution that takes me maybe another week or 2. I don't want to like rewrite everything. And as a result of that, I think I'm maybe hampering myself a bit. Like imagine if you spent a year working on a product and you're like, we need to get something done in a month. You better use that year's worth of work because otherwise you're going to need to spend more than a month. So I want to make sure that I'm not hamstringing myself. So I thought, okay, what if I were to just start over? And the goals of what we're doing here is just add some time into the game. It's not even really replayability. I said replayability originally, but it doesn't have to be that. At least not explicitly that. When I think of replayability, I think a mode that you can go into and then play again and again and again and again, and there's still something there for you. Whereas if you think of kind of any game that has like a normal difficulty and a hard difficulty, no, I guess it's not whereas. This is like the replayability thing as opposed to like a single player mode and a multiplayer mode. Like this is just different content. It's not that you need to replay this. You could just play through this once and play through this once and you might be happy with it. And then the other requirement was fit the existing tone of the game, which is casual and laid back. And I wanted to think, where have we violated this with challenge mode? Like what works and what doesn't work. And I guess maybe I should write some of these things for the other questions that we have here. How different do the challenges feel? How do they get you to make different decisions? And how do meta perks interact with the challenges? If there's a challenge that starts you with the farm, wouldn't you just pick all farming meta perks? Yeah, okay. How many bits for more arrows? 0. I'll draw some more for you if you want. Here's an arrow. Here's another arrow. Basically, they're thinking about refactoring instead of completely starting over. Something like that. When I say refactoring, or when you say refactoring here, I think of it as a redesign. Like, imagine if you came up with, I don't know, Tetris, but the pieces all have 5 blocks. It's like, well, we know Tetris ended up with 4 blocks per piece. Like, I want to figure out, are we doing something like this? Where, oh, hey, we made a decision, but just by changing this little high-level decision, everything gets better. EJ, thank you for both subbing and gifting 5 subs. That is very nice of you. And I think you still made it in September. Yeah, September 22nd. I was going to say, September actually goes into October. Wow, thanks for the arrows. Anytime, EJ. I hope you've been doing well. So a lot of the root trees are dead. They just have 2 story modes, or one is harder than the other, is unlocked by beating the easier one. Yeah, I wonder how that would feel for this. Like, okay, you beat the easy mode, now go to the hard mode. But I think a lot of this is very similar to like a prestige mechanic in typical idle games, which I've wanted to avoid. The way this typically works for people who don't know, imagine you're playing Skeleseller or something and you're getting some amount of gold per minute. And maybe you're getting like 500 gold per minute. And things end up costing like 50 million gold for the next upgrade. So it's like, okay, you could get 500 gold per minute and eventually get to 50 million, but you're probably not going to. That would take you a very long time. So instead, you hit the prestige button and it restarts you, but now you have like an income multiplier of 100x. So now that same amount of gold per minute would be actually 50,000. And now getting to 50 million wouldn't be as bad. Although maybe you prestige again and you get to 500,000 gold per minute. And now it's really easy. So this is kind of how this works in a lot of idle games, and I don't want to do this myself. And part of the reason that they do it is it's just so easy to reuse content, because they just change a couple of, essentially it's a math formula. That's it. Like all the mechanics are the same. Yeah. Hey, Crow. Everyone has such good feedback. I just read through in Discord. Meanwhile, I wish there was a back button from challenge mode perks, despite the fact that X works. So the X could close challenge mode entirely. If you want a back button, you can press either escape or you can click the background. I'm waiting for this to load up, which maybe it's, oh, there we go. Yeah, so if you click perks and you want to close this, you could click the X, you could click the background, and you could press escape. So all 3 of those work. Where does the term roguelike come from? It comes from rogue, yeah, which is what Flashburn said, but I would say it's changed slightly. And nowadays, what I would say roguelike means is being presented with random options. And then I would say that roguelite is roguelike with some persistent benefits. And this is what these kind of mean nowadays. What it used to mean, Rogue itself, I think, was a very randomized game. So imagine you get something like a green potion, and in one of your runs, it heals you for 10 HP, and in another run, it kills you immediately, or something like that. Like, it's to that level of randomness that I think would be applied, so that you needed to pay attention in each run, like, okay, green potions are bad for this run, gotta remember that. Blue potions are really good, and whatever, this enemy will drop swords or something for me. I didn't actually play Rogue, so I don't know the exact mechanics. But I think this is more like what it was originally. And roguelike at this point just means like, oh, you're given some options. So a lot of games fit into roguelike, even if they're in very different genres within. So you could have a roguelike FPS or a roguelike card game. All right, so there's a thought that I've had kind of spinning around for a bit that I want to reify. Let me think about this. I think it's that idea of how would we, I guess two thoughts swirling around. How would we make each run different? And what is the ideal like fun state of challenge mode? I think it's breaking the game. And I think you would want many ways to break the game. Like 100 customers buying stuff immediately. Items flying out of the portal into an always hungry garbage slime. I don't know, like your adventurers killing boss after boss. These sorts of things I think would be kind of fun. Because the way that challenge mode works right now is it's a muted way of going through just the normal town building stuff. And how do we make each run different? I think perks and meta perks would have to change mechanics slightly. So that synergies form that otherwise wouldn't have existed. So, for example, the current twists do this to some extent, e.g. fish give gold. Fishing generally shouldn't give money, but this allows you to invest more into fishing. Roguelike these days just means pick one of three. Yeah, pretty much. I think most people are playing because it's fun, not because it's difficult and fun. Yeah, and this is the other thing I kind of mentioned on Discord. We have this difficulty track, and it's like, okay, level 1, I've written this out a bunch of times. A level 1 does X, and level 2 does X plus Y, and so on and so forth until level 20 is X plus Y plus dot 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 plus like item number 21 or something like that. And I just don't think this makes a lot of sense. I almost wonder, like, should it be the opposite way? Should it be that there is no difficulty change so that you just find that things are getting easier and easier and easier? And that's essentially what a prestige mechanic is that things get easier and easier. I almost wonder if, like, what if we swap this around completely? What if meta perks are boring and perks are exciting? So like meta perks might be something like the farm is slightly bigger. And then a perk might say something like every time you harvest a carrot, a random adventurer gets +1 power. I like the twist idea where you could get perks like garbage slime sometimes gives you a treasure chest or some crazy ways to influence one system for another. Yeah, yeah. So what I'm kind of debating is people don't mind the positive aspect of twists. In fact, they probably like that, but they really hate the negatives. So what I wonder is, what if the negatives were just baked into the challenge itself? So for example, you can't build the warehouse. It's like you would know going into it that, okay, I can't build the warehouse, so I'm going to play around that. I'd like to see a way where I could forget battle perks for only chest rewards, or forego them for only chest rewards, or vice versa. A way to stack many slow workers or a few fast ones. A way more effective way to farm items from just one battle or many low level battles. Those kind of paths form will go a long way. Yeah, and I'm still sort of leaning toward the same thing of like same general conclusions as a couple of nights ago, which is remove difficulty track, add standalone challenges that can have system hate. Change up perks and meta perks. Well, perks, meta perks, and twists. Yeah. Hey, Wendy, thanks for the raid. How went your Monday stream? Uh-oh. Hey, Corpsey. A mode or a perk where there's no limit for the number of adventures in a battle would be kind of cool. Yeah, yeah. I should probably write down a bunch of these ideas. Where are the ideas? We could have a challenge that's practically entirely based around getting like 10 levels of a specific perk. Could have a challenge where there's no limit to the number of adventures you can have. I think this is solidifying that this is a good idea. Streaming well, how you doing? Well, I don't know if you saw the title of the stream, but I think it's something like just another identity crisis. So I finally launched challenge mode to playtesters last week, and I was super excited and everything. And then feedback started coming in, and I would say it's like, if it were a Steam review, it'd probably be mixed, or maybe, I don't know what the, like, maybe slightly negative is what I'd probably say. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If I launched the game completely and it was selling and we got negative reviews, I think it'd be bad. But this is still in development, so it gives us a chance to fix this stuff. And that's what I'm trying to figure out now. So in hindsight, it's kind of clear some of these things that don't work. So we had this challenge track here where it's like, okay, level 1 says you start with fewer adventurers. Level 2 is you'll get different kinds of perks, blah, blah, blah. So that by the time you're on level 9 or whatever, it's like, okay, now there are 9 difficulty things stacking up against you. I don't think that's in the Skeleseller spirit. The Skeleseller spirit is like, sit around and do whatever and you'll eventually win. And this is more like, oh, hey, you've got to struggle. The game shouldn't be a struggle. So yeah, I don't think this is a good mechanic to have. And I think this is one of the big things we're going to change. Then we also got some feedback about meta perks. This, I don't think the mechanic is bad. I think we need to give out more points. I think we need to probably change some of these things slightly. So I want to think about that. And then I think the final thing we probably need to do is consider, is there some other decision you could be making within a run? Do we even need that? Probably not. So, yeah. And then, yeah, what's the ideal fun state of challenge mode? I said I think it's breaking the game. I think this should play into the objective. Crazy mode. I think we could retheme it from challenge mode. I really like this idea, business optimization via new expansions, the bone system thing, which is like, hey, we're going to put you in different scenarios and we're going to see if you succeed in those scenarios. Like, this is a cool story way of saying this. And then how we present it after that, I think could be kind of interesting too. Hey, Meridio. So I think the challenges are interesting. I guess let's go back up to here. What did I decide here? Yeah. Go to this leaning toward questions. How do you unlock different challenges? How do they feel? How do they interact with the challenges? Should meta perks be the boring perks and regular perks should be more interesting / exciting? That way the run would change from within rather than before it. Hey, PKRW, could you add mouse functionality to the right half of your keyboard? I already have it. So if I hold this key, then I can use the mouse with these fingers and select text, and I have right click and middle click. So yeah, I do that every once in a while. One thing it's kind of nice for is, like, let's say this is a very specific scenario. So you see what's happening right now? The mouse cursor is over Google Docs, but VS Code has the focus. And sometimes I want to switch back to that window on the right. So I actually just I left click on the mouse from the keyboard and then I get back to Google Docs that way. Oh, I imagine you could move the keyboard like this. I don't think that would be a good thing. I think there has been a keyboard that exists like that, but that doesn't sound like it's a good idea to me. Okay, wait, there was some other question I had here, right? Oh yeah, how do we change twists? Is that already written here? How do we change? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Just get rid of them entirely. I like the idea of something unique showing up. I don't know if it makes sense to keep them. The interesting thing about twists is it was a way of introducing a change in the middle of a game. I don't know if we're even going to need that anymore. Oh, that's what I was going to write down. Do we even need randomness if we're going to have different challenges? And I think the answer is yes. Because otherwise you would probably try the same general strategy for every challenge. So challenges establish the limits for the run. Meta perks will be the tools to navigate the limits. And perks too. I'm wondering if twists should get jettisoned or be used as a tool to ramp the advantages from meta perks. I think the problem is that if you think of equivalence classes of choices, you have choices before the run, I guess positive choices before the run, positive choices during the run, and then like a positive and negative choice combined during the run. So these are the equivalence classes. If twists were only positive, then this class would cease to exist and they'd all get bundled into positive choices during the run. Now, granted, they could be different magnitudes. Like a perk could be +1 and a twist could be +50 or something. But it's not a different equivalence class, and we would lose this equivalence class. I don't think having negative choices during the run is important. And we already have positive choices during the run. So yeah, maybe we just ditch twists. They just stop existing. And I'm glad that I never got the T to rotate the way I wanted it to. Hey, player. Without a time limit or medal system, I probably wouldn't be annoyed with the randomness when buying perks. So I think time limits are bad for Skeleseller, but I think the medal system is good. So I think randomness is good and the medal system is good. And if that stuff doesn't resonate with you, I don't actually think there's a need to change that stuff. And that's kind of, if I'm recalling your feedback correctly, this is why I was asking about the gold medal stuff. And I think you said something along the lines of, well, meta progression is so slow that I want the gold. But I wonder if we just made meta progression faster. Like, as an example, what if every single run you do gets you +20 perk points? Doesn't matter about the speed. Would you be happy getting bronze medals at that point? Time limits is why I haven't played Fallout 1. I haven't played any of the Fallout games. Faster would probably keep me in it for lower medals. Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's what I'm going to be steering toward. Here's generally the conclusion I came up with. Bronze should be like when you unlock the challenge, bronze is possible with a moderate amount of effort. Then I think gold should be like whatever I can do when I play with the normal amount of meta perks. And then I think we add in like a diamond medal or something like that, which is whatever I can do when at the max number of meta perks. Now, I say me, whatever I can do, but what I mean by this is whatever like a very skilled Skeleseller player could do. So anyone should be able to get bronze. And if you're really good at the game, you should probably be able to get gold the first time you encounter a challenge. But it's going to probably be impossible for you to get diamond until you've kind of maxed out the whole game. I think with twists, the issue was that the negative was random. If you instead make the negative something that ties into the positive, then it feels like a proper trade-off. Just got to do away with the random part. Yeah, that could be done. Yeah. We could change them so that the negative and positive are tied to each other instead of being completely random. E.g., the farm gets bigger but produces crops more slowly. Yeah. Caleb, thanks for the resub. I'm doing well. I'm feeling pretty good. Hey, Roy. I haven't seen you in ages. Last time I saw you, you were getting a job the next day and preparing for interviews. Yeah, that must have been 2020 then. But I've been back now for almost 2 years, actually, to streaming. Prince of Persia had a time limit, but it's an hour, not a huge looming deadline. Yeah, I think games with time limits where I've had fun are probably games where the time limit kind of makes sense for the game itself. So like I said, racing games, even if they don't explicitly have a time limit, they have a time limit because you're racing against other people. So it's like you're literally racing. It's a racing game. So, okay, that makes sense there. I'm trying to think if there's any other game where I'm happy there's a time limit. I think bonus levels being timed can be fine. Like I've been playing the new Donkey Kong game, and every once in a while there's like a level that's just got a whole bunch of gold in it, and you have to break as many blocks as you can, and it's just a bonus. So if you get 500 gold or if you get 5,000 gold, it doesn't really matter. It's more than zero. So like those I think I'm fine with too. But yeah, otherwise I think it adds a level of urgency. And even Stardew doesn't really have a time limit per se. It has a time, and at the end of the day, if you are not back home, then you like wake up in the hospital or something. I don't remember what happens. You lose some money. It's like a tiny penalty. But there's no time limit in terms of like you have to beat the game within a year in game time. You could spend 20 in-game years and yeah, there's nothing stopping you. But it still feels a little bit more urgent because the time is there. Are we able to play this right now? You can play the demo now. So, hey, Matt. You can play the demo now, but the thing that I'm talking about here of what we're revamping, this challenge mode stuff, this is only in the playtest version, which granted you could sign up for after you play the demo, but it's not publicly available. Hey, Tobor. Good morning to you. It's just kind of boring when you play for 30 minutes, unlock perk points, and then increase some stat or whatever by 1%. Maybe if in the tree it still had those boring things, but then they work their way toward the crazy unlocks. I almost sort of wonder, is there even a reason to have meta perks if they're going to be... I don't know. I think increasing stuff by 1%, yeah, it doesn't feel great. And I got to be careful about how exactly we do this. And I have an idea. Yeah. Here's my idea. Let me write it down in a cryptic way first. Glyphs and random unlocks. And then I want to talk about this. But first I want to finish the other stuff that's good. I've had a good day. I can feel my mind getting slower. Might be time to stop. Yeah, that happens to me. Like 10 p.m. is the stopping point no matter pretty much what I'm doing. I realize that I'm just not operating at 100% at that point. Hey, Migihara. Welcome in. Because you can reset meta perks. I think swapping them up to approach individual challenges is good. Yeah, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. What if meta perks were split into like minor and major, and you only had so many slots for each type? I guess even simpler would be, what if you had 4 meta perk slots and you randomly unlocked the meta perks? So you can change the ones you have equipped at any point, but you can't go beyond 4. And the reason I say major and minor is because there are meta perks like the quick move menu, which I think, well, actually, maybe it's just that one. Maybe that's the only polarizing one. Yeah, I'll put that. That keyboard can't be good for you to type passwords? What do you mean? It's fine for typing passwords. In fact, it's even sometimes better. Like, I don't even necessarily have to hide the keyboard camera if I were to type a password. Not that I ever would type a password out on the stream, but you probably wouldn't know what I'm typing. Maybe it's just this one. The quick move menu is probably a bit polarizing. Maybe it should just be unlocked by default. Yeah, it probably should. Type my password right now. If you didn't, okay, so seriously, like let's do something here. I'm gonna type something off screen, and I'm just gonna use English, and I'm gonna type pretty slowly here. And you probably have no idea what I'm typing. There. All right, here's what I typed. This is me typing. Oh yeah, if the password looks like this, Yeah, it's not super easy to type. I mean, I can do it. 1H0UDGGK. I can do it, but this is the kind of thing that's usually pretty obnoxious to type even on a regular keyboard. Let me get the VOD, then look up Colmac. Like, I don't think that would be fun. It would probably take you a long time. Hey, Pretzel. Yeah, so that should probably just be unlocked by default. I think this is maybe better, but then I wonder what would meta perks look like. And do you end up picking kind of the same ones every time? I like the idea of you randomly unlocking them, though. Maybe there could be like town and adventurer ones. But I think there's still going to be some best ones. And that's what I don't like the idea of. Concerned there would be a set of best perks. Or maybe just the most obvious ones for a particular challenge. Give me potions for that fishing pond. Yeah, I think these are good ideas to have. I think I should write this down. But what I'm wondering about is, like, would you feel limited by this stuff? Because there are a bunch of different ways we can do this. Another way we could do it is like every meta perk you pick increases the cost of all others by. No, this doesn't really work. I was gonna say like by X points, but it's pretty much the same thing as just, hey, you got 500 points, so now you can equip 5. Oh, now you have 1,000 points, you can equip 6. Maybe we just limit how many points you get at the end. No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Gotta think about that. What if the elites dropped 1 per elite per run? Gives a reason to do them. Yeah, bosses are in kind of a weird state right now. I still haven't thought about that too much. I might just remove them from challenge mode. But at that point, they wouldn't be meta perks. I guess they'd just be regular perks, right? Or maybe you are saying they should be meta perks and you get them for your next run. Make it easy to introduce new ones through updates. I think whether or not they're randomly given out, I think we can still introduce new ones through updates. Because it's essentially just a shop that takes points. So imagine that we only have these 3 in the game and you're like, okay, I'll take that, that, and that. And now we launch a new patch and we add these. You'd just be like, oh, okay, there are more. So I can get the other ones now. So I think if we were to switch to this, it would have to be for a specific reason. I don't know what that would be exactly yet. Hey, Cypher. How about you start with a set number of points and then just decrease them as time goes by? I'm not sure I follow what you're saying there. Why would you decrease them as time goes by? Anyway, with this, yeah, I wonder, like, if we just had the perks we had in the game right now, like I click refund and I'm allowed any 4 of these, I would pick the most impactful 4. And for me, I'd probably be like, okay, it's probably that, and I don't know. Some of these other ones would need to be buffed so that they're interesting. Because like, why would you ever pick hardworking? Well, maybe you would. I don't know. Maybe there's a situation for that. Yeah. But some of these other ones, like grant quicker strike to the rogue, I'm not sure that should even be in the same category as the other ones. Please read my very serious message. Oh, as the challenge you suggested to me starts now, I will from now on segment literally every single letter of every single word I'm going to type out. Wow, I'm really glad I read that, Apressel. Thank you. Hey, Shot. Finally purchased my split keyboard. Oh, nice. Yeah. I look forward to seeing the photo of that. As you could potentially lose perks as you fail missions. I don't know, just an idea. Okay, so I think it's worth saying like that the sort of tone of this game is very casual. So in general, like punishments are bad. Like a bad idea. Obviously, punishments are just bad in themselves, but I think a bad idea for the game. So instead, I'd like to reward people for doing well as opposed to punishing them for doing poorly. And those are two different things, even if they sound like they're kind of the same. All right, so I think my problem with this is that I don't know what the meta perks are even going to be exactly. And some of these are actually, they're interesting. Maybe there is a mode where you don't want to start with more workers, but someone else does. Although that's another thing. How would levels work if we did this? Also, how would levels work if we did this? Some challenges may require more perks than others, and if someone wants to farm them up, more power to them. Yeah, I think that's probably... Also, it's the easiest thing to do is just leave them how they are. Yeah, I think the casual nature of the game should allow you to get as many meta perks as you want. And I'll copy because this is pretty much what Kodak said too. I pre-informed you about the uselessness. That's true. I wasn't ignoring the message purposely. I honestly hadn't seen it. If only real life would work more with rewards than with punishments. I wonder if people are more motivated by negative or positive things. It probably depends on the situation. Will the game be in other languages, like Portuguese? Probably. That was going to be based on how many of the meta perks you've collected. We could still base it on how many meta points we expect you to have by then. So, like, let's say we come up with, I don't know, challenge number 1, number 2, and number 3. I guess this implies linearity here, but we could say something like, we expect you to have 5 points for this. And then we expect you to have 50 points for this, and so on and so forth, to the point where we can figure out like, okay, this will roughly equate to having like 2 meta perks, and this one will equate to having like 5 or 6, and this one more and more. Hey, Loggerhead. Rewards generally work well, yeah. Is it interactive in the sense that it doesn't require so much English? I think it'd be interesting for him to learn. I think you could beat the entire story mode without understanding a word of what's being said. You'd probably eventually figure out what to do. I don't think it'd be fun. I think a lot of people have probably had this experience where they've played a game in another language and there were no subtitles or anything. And they're like, well, I really want to play the game. And yeah, sometimes it just becomes hard to figure out like, how do I even get through these menus? I mean, if you're dedicated enough, you could eventually figure it out. Yeah, so okay, I don't think we need to change this necessarily. One state of the game. I think it's also overcoming the challenge. Also overcoming the challenge to some extent. And this would get you thinking at least slightly differently. He's watching now. Send you a hug. Very nice. Well, hello. Hello to your nephew. All right, let's go back to this leaning toward thing. So make specific challenges with sets of constraints designed to let you play out the game differently. They can have positive effects like the specializations do. Difficulty for these challenges will be from the medal system. So at any point, anyone can beat a challenge under no medal. We balance the bronze medal around having the expected number of perks, balance gold around playing perfectly, and balance the bone medal around playing perfectly with the maximum number of perks. Okay, so let's answer some of these questions, I guess. I'll put these here and delete them from this section. Okay, so how do you unlock different challenges? Are they linear? Do you pick which challenge to do next? So if they're linear, then we know the order that you're tackling them in. So it's easier to balance, easier for the player to know what to do next, but not easy for them to skip a challenge. Maybe we don't require a medal to unlock the next challenge. So if you do a challenge and don't like it, you could just skip it. That's not a bad idea. I think the linearity helps for a lot of things. Like I said, balance, just the player doesn't need to decide between 10 different things. And they're not overwhelmed by choice. It's not even just that there are two different parts of that. One is if you recognize there's a choice, now you need to figure out how do I choose. And second is recognizing that there's no choice, so there's nothing to even think about. Yeah, so I think challenges should be done, they should be unlocked linearly. Challenges will be unlocked linearly. Maybe we don't even require a medal to unlock the next one. Rationale, it's easier to balance and it's less cognitive load on the player. And also we could reuse the UI. Like we have choose a difficulty level. This wouldn't be choose a difficulty level now. It'd be like choose a challenge. And level 0 would still be the tutorial. And level 1 would be something like, I don't know. You start with a farm maxed out and see what that does for you. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a good enough answer for this. All right, so next, how different do the challenges feel? How do they get you to make different decisions? This we need to answer at the end, or actually, I guess like what are the challenges? Are the challenges? All right, how do meta perks interact with them? If there's a challenge that starts you with a farm, wouldn't you just be picking all farming meta perks? Meta perks be the boring perks and regular perks would be more exciting or interesting? So yeah, how do we change perks? I think there should be some that change mechanics. Maybe that's how twists work. Every like X choices, where X is something low-ish like 5, you get a twist, but the twist doesn't really have a negative. It just changes a rule slightly. What if you purchase these separately? Like town perks would improve some part of your town, but twists would change rules slightly. Yeah, so right now in the game, you can only spend your money on a very small number of things. Town perks, buildings, hiring adventurers, and if you have the treasure room, treasure chests. And that's it. I don't think there's anything else you can spend your money on. So yeah, what if there was another option here that said like twists and you could buy one of those? I think having them show up as part of the town perks was actually okay. I don't think that's a problem. I think the problem is just that the choices were very punishing. But I think if they were to change to just be interesting stuff. So if you did see something like, yeah, every time you harvest a crop, you got treasure or something like that. I think that'd be interesting. It would make you want to invest more in the farm. I think the problem would still probably come from the sort of intense randomness that exists. So you get something where it's like, oh man, the farm is going to be great, and then you don't get any farming perks. Or you're not even offered the farm. And I wonder what we could do about that. I was actually thinking there could be like a traveling perk vendor who always offered you like maybe some specific perks, but they cost more. So like, let's say all 3 of these were desirable. I spent 10 gold, but let's say they cost 25 gold. So it's like, oh man, I want to pick this one. and you spend a little bit of extra money knowing that it's something you want. I might as well write it down as an idea. I think having some kind of perk vendor who offers even a single perk for a slightly elevated amount of money would be interesting. Maybe their perk could be from a curated pool. So if I start with a lot of farm stuff, I'd aim for getting as many fights running at the last location as possible. So stacking chest rewards and stacking weapons for keys. Don't care about fishing or garbage slime or workers. I think we need to see how this plays out in practice. Because I know in theory that's what you would feel, but maybe there are twists where we're like, once you get all this stuff, now fishing is super important. It's like every time you catch a fish, it spawns a pumpkin on your farm or something like that. Like that could be kind of interesting. How many artists have worked on the game? Looks great. Consistent style. It's mainly one. It's just Quickie Joe. But there were some asset packs that we got originally, but Quickie Joe's just been matching the style of the asset packs. Here's something they call tailoring, where they shift the odds of certain rewards based on what you're already doing. Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if we should do something like that. I think people would probably like it. I think there's going to be an issue where people want their builds to work, but the randomness stops them. We probably need more ways to cut through the randomness, e.g. a perk vendor that offers a specific perk, changing the probabilities of perks based on what you have, or allowing for more rerolls. Hope design session's going well. I think it's going pretty well. I think there are some big questions though that are hard to answer because there's any number of answers that would work for this. But yeah, I do think we need. What twists do we have already? Let's look at trade-off generator. We have these free treasure chests, different adventure limits, enemy stat multiplier, farm crop value, town perk, which give gold. Yeah, I think these are pretty interesting. Is give more at bats? What does that mean? Is that like offer 4 choices instead of 3? More rerolls. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so my gut feeling says meta perks and perks can mostly remain the same, but we ratchet up twists to happen every 5 choices and only make the twist positive. So twist examples are things like we already have free treasure in the warehouse, fish give gold, casting a spell, I don't know, like causes an item to be sold, something like that. Yeah, I see. Meta perks and perks can mostly remain the same. So are perks interesting enough still? I mean, these do directly buff certain aspects of your town, so I think we need this. And I think some of the less interesting ones can be moved to meta perks. Twists were written back when challenges were shifting core mechanics, so the current twists are kind of lightweight in what they can do. I think the current set of twists, at least these are the positive ones that we have. I think these are all still interesting. I wonder if people are going to kind of just be clicking this button to see what twist they end up getting. Means why we can't separate it out. Multiplier. Global modifiers like enemy stats and perk cost are questionable. I think it still can change your run. Like, I see what you mean, but I don't know. What if you got the enemies are stronger challenge and you end up finding like enemies actually become a little bit weaker than they normally are? I think that'd be an exciting twist to get. I think the thing is we need to add in like 20 or 30 of these. Probably even more than that. But yeah, this is still my gut feeling here. Like, I don't think meta perks need to be super exciting. I think we just need to be a little bit more generous with how we give you perk points. What was my issue, though? Was my issue that you'd eventually just unlock all of these things? Hmm. I guess it's always nice to feel like you're making some kind of progress. I don't think we need to change this too much. Yeah, I think this is still my conclusion from this. Okay. So let's write this down too. Meta perks and perks can largely remain the same. However, twists should change, excuse me, to only be positive. And they should happen much more frequently. Like every 3 to 5 picks. Maybe even randomly. No, maybe not randomly. I don't know about that. Every 3 to 5 picks. Yeah, the negative twists that I coded could just be used for different challenges. And new twists could be added to do any cross system stuff or other rule changes. We may even want to ditch the ones that just hand out perks for free, like the storage one. So challenges would need to have system hate in them, right? Make specific challenges, kind of positive effects. All right, challenges can have system hate such that twists don't need to present that. There can be a challenge saying you can only grow, or like you can't build the farm. All right. Free treasure in the warehouse. Casting something causes an item to be sold. I think that's pretty interesting. Or causes X items to be sold. Yeah. Okay. So changing them so that there's a negative and a positive tied to each other. I guess we could do that. I need to change how these things are generated. But I don't know if we even need to list it that way. Twists could be trade-offs, but that aren't totally random. Farm crops are worth like 50% more, but they grow 10% slower. I'm not even certain we need to do something like this. Maybe every once in a while there's something that makes sense, but yeah. All right, so I think we've answered this. Do we even need randomness if we're going to have different challenges? Yeah, I think we've answered this too. What did I just do? I wouldn't say only positives. Having items stacked but sell at a lower cost adds more depth to what can be done with items. Yeah, but one of the issues is you can't undo it. And I still think having it only be positive could add interesting stuff. Like, let's say you have items stack and you don't change the cost. It might mean that now you should go get like cheaper items because that way you can fill the stacks. Matrix design the twists, line up each system on one axis, line them up again on the other, make a twist where a system on X affects system on Y. So you're saying like there'd be like 6 farm twists, and it'd be like farm affects pond, farm affects treasure room, etc. I think as long as it doesn't feel formulaic, that'd be okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think as long as it doesn't feel formulaic. But I'll write that down too. Because I think twists are generally pretty easy to make since we don't need icons for them. All right, what else do we have? Are meta perks saved per challenge? You have templates or something. If we make them per challenge, then we can disable some of them that have no effect. Yeah, this one's kind of a UI question. So imagine you have something like this. There's a meta perk that says you start with level 1 seek food. And now there's a challenge that says you don't have the slime at all. Well, now this is pointless. Like, should something tell you you have pointless meta perks? I don't really think we have to do that because I think eventually you'll unlock literally all of these. And I don't think you'll want to change it or have a warning show up like, oh yeah, you've got some perks that won't help you. It's like, yeah, I know that. Alternatively, we could make it so that every meta perk is guaranteed to work for every run, but I think that would be kind of tough. Yeah, I just don't think we worry about this for right now. I guess I'll write that down. I don't think we should worry about this for now. In the worst case scenario, people start a run with meta perks that do nothing. They upgrade the farm despite not being able to build the farm. I just don't think it's a big deal. They could probably still win and will eventually unlock all meta perks anyway. How do we change meta perks? Should the challenges themselves give positive effects, or should they always be on meta perks? The decision probably comes down to whether we want the player to be able to apply that to every single challenge. Start with the farm might make sense only for a single challenge. Yeah, I think challenges can have positive stuff. So I answered this already right here. It's still a bonus, takes a single perk out of the perk pool. I guess that's kind of true. I guess it depends on should we even show you those perks within a challenge. Like if we say you can't build the farm, should we cut out the farming perks for you? All right, so is this fun? Can I play out how I think this would go? I'm a bit concerned that all these constraints would be a lot to keep in mind. Okay, so let's just kind of stream of consciousness this thing. So you're a new Skeleseller player. You like the game, you're playing through story mode, you beat it and unlock challenge mode. You either play the tutorial of it or skip right to the first challenge. Maybe we should force people to play the tutorial. It shouldn't be that long. I wonder how many people did play. I should be able to figure that out, right? Oh, how do we do that? Oh, God. Somewhere in here is a difficulty level, right? Yeah, there it is. So select count from runs where, what's that saved as? Run data. Run data. What are you supposed to do here? Like and then percent sign. Whoops. 0% sign? I probably need to escape these or something. Is that a thing? No, that's not a thing. How do you do this? SQLite fuzzy search. What? I just want to do like match substring. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, use like. Turn any row where this contains something like this. And use escape. Wait, what did I do wrong here then? What did I do wrong? Oh, because the quote's there? Oh, whoops. Okay, well, that was easy. All right, so 6 people did the tutorial out of 11. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Wait, out of 11? What am I talking about? How could 15 have done this then? Oh, because they could have repeated it? Wait, no, then this doesn't tell me how many. We need to select metric ID. Metrics ID? What did I call it? There. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it was 6. 6 unique. No, that's not unique. This person did it twice. So 5 people out of 11. Distinct metrics ID? Yeah, 5. Count distinct. So 5 out of 11. It's a. I mean, whether or not it was 5 or 6 out of 11, it's straddling the half mark of 5.5. And I guess I don't really care too much. Plus, some of these people, this is kind of a biased group because a lot of these people already played challenge mode and probably wouldn't need the tutorial. Then again, Xyletics is the opposite. Played challenge mode and did use the tutorial for the free perk points, which we're going to hopefully address in a different way by giving more perk points. Okay, so anyway, you either play the tutorial or skip right to the first challenge. So assuming you play the tutorial, you'd probably feel a tiny bit overwhelmed by the randomness of everything, although we constrain that randomness for the tutorial right now so that you only get town perks for buildings you already got, you already own. So now when you finally do go to challenge number 1, we would probably make it simple to understand. E.g., you can't build, like you start with the treasure room and maxed out key rarity, but chests take 15 minutes to open. Actually, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think some of these challenges would be fun. They don't need to be long challenges either. We could lower we could lower the amount of time it takes to win. So everything else plays out the same way. So you'd be crushing locations. Perk points per minute. Will you up the income goal in the tutorial to be more of a full game session? If not, then level 1 may still need to be that. I don't know yet. I don't think so. I wanted the tutorial to be something where you just play however you want. But this is one of those things where I can't really answer it ahead of time. I need to look at like broader playtest data. Hey, Button. My tower defense game, I had the first map's name as tutorial and eventually realized it'd be better to remove all mentions and rather call it something else. Yeah, I removed the word tutorial from this. It just says level 0 is intended for new players to get the hang of it. You can skip to level 1 if you prefer. Okay, so I could see that being an interesting way to change how you approach the mode. You would realize at some point how meta perks work and change up your build. Eventually, you would get to something like challenge number 10, where perhaps there are several constraints. By then, I think you would get the hang of this stuff. Okay, the other question is like, what to-do items do we make for this? Because we can probably, if I'm pretty convinced in the next couple hours of this, I can probably start working on this today. And I guess the other thing is, do we need to change the tutorial at all? I guess we put that there. So yeah, what are the challenges? All right, let's come up with some of those. And how different do they feel? How do they get you to make different decisions? I think this can work. One of the things I use identity crisis sort of tongue in cheek. Like, I think a real identity crisis is a massive problem in someone's life. We do have an identity crisis here with challenge mode in particular. Like, what is it? How is it different? Where is the fun in this? And one of the things I realized kind of just yesterday, actually, is challenge mode isn't bad. And it's not like 90% wrong or something like that. It's probably like 20% wrong or something like that. So that made me feel a little bit better that even when I planned this out, I wrote this starting over section. Like, let's say I was just designing all this with what I have in mind now and not the code that I have in mind. What would I do? And I was making a lot of the same decisions, and I realized, like, okay, then this is a step in the right direction. So I think this is going to make things a lot better too. All this stuff that we're talking about here. So yeah, what are the challenges? How different do they feel? All right, so let's just write some out. I don't think they need to be in a particular order yet. Try to get 7 to 8 active battles of 2 adventures each. So maybe unlimited battles and -2 adventures in battle. Yeah, we can do something like that. So we could say like small battles. You can have unlimited battle windows, but only, what, 2 adventures per battle? Treasure. I like that idea that I had written here. You start with the treasure room and maxed out key rarity, but chests take 15 minutes to open. Yeah. Okay, I have some other ones written down that I liked. I don't know where. Here they are. Some of these were just written down kind of hastily. All right, chaos. You get perks for buildings you haven't built yet. I think it was just like every choice is totally random. Maybe this isn't very fun. No, what if it was just town perks, buildings, and adventurers are all totally random, are chosen for you. But the twists are still manually chosen. Yeah. Customers are overwhelming, so you need mass workers, including adventurers, to keep up. Like start with 50 customers or something. So we just assume that every single item is going to sell immediately. Customer frenzy. Start with 15 customers or something. Or start with, I'll just say, the maximum number of customers based on how many unique sprites we have. We don't even need to do that. We could just say, like, yeah, you start with like 15 customers. Worker frenzy, you start with 15 workers. There need to be some other constraint here, right? Like maybe items sell for less. I don't know. Let's just start with this, and then we can add other things in later. Tough enemies. Enemies have double the stats. No leveling up. Can't build the farm, pond, or treasure room. Just a very high goal set. Yeah. Shops have 2 storage slots. You can't get the warehouse. Is this fun? I guess it's like the slime mode. Yeah, limited shops. Tutorial, no leveling up, tough enemies, chaos. Kill like 1,000 fish. It's pretty much just put everything into potions, I guess. I think we should look at what were the old specializations. This is going to be kind of hard to look through, right? Because it wasn't just here. It was in some other thing. Challenge mode? Constraint? It's in here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, so this is what it told us. Okay, so farming on what? Very hard mode. More enemy damage, seeds cost more, and can't build the pond. This started you with a farm and practically all of the perks for it. Would that be interesting now, I wonder? There's a challenge that starts you with a farm. Okay, let's think about this. So let's fake this by going into here and giving ourselves a bunch of money. I can't do that without beating the without beating this. Come on, go over there. Nice. Okay, so now we can get the farm and a bunch of money, and we can get all the perks. So this is how the mode would start. We'd have tons of crops. We'd be able to harvest quickly. So it's all about getting potions. Does it meaningfully change anything else? I guess if positive twists are going to be different rule changes for this stuff, I wonder if we should make this the challenge start with, I don't know. I think the only answer I have right now is maybe. Maybe this would be interesting. Starting with the farm maxed out. Yeah, probably. How do you carve out your day between thinking, coding, all other bits? I always just think, what's the top priority? And then I try to do that unless I'm burned out or something. In which case, I may think, what's the most fun? So in general, I think moving things forward is always the most important thing. And ideally, you're tackling the most important way to move things forward. But sometimes you just don't have the energy, or you're like, you know what, I really want to do this task. But yeah, in general, this is how I try to prioritize things. So in this case, we have challenge mode is the new big thing in Skeleseller. And it's not working perfectly yet. So this becomes the top priority of like, how do we fix this? And in this case, we can't just start coding stuff. I don't actually know what we'd be coding because I need to think about what are the trade-offs of all of this? How do these systems look? So that's why we're in a document right now. We'll probably still be in a document for the next like couple hours, and then we'll probably switch to coding this afternoon. Hey, Smack. Hey, Soap. What do you do when you run into a difference in expectation versus reality in game development? I think it's always a case-by-case basis because it depends on how far from the reality you are. So as a small example here, we've gotten feedback saying like meta progression is too slow. To solve this, what we're pretty much just going to do is say something like progress times equal 2 in the code somewhere. And that's probably all it's going to take. And then everything's probably going to just feel fine. So in this particular case, it's fine. As a big example is kind of challenge mode. The expectation was that like challenge mode will be fun. I'll have only minor tweaks to make. And the reality is Well, I don't know how big these tweaks are going to be, but I assume this is going to be minimally another week of work, which is okay. That's not too bad. I want to be done by the end of October. So we have some time. But yeah, in other cases, it could be even larger. It could be like a problem with the game itself. Maybe you launch your game and get like 2 sales. And then what do? Your expectation versus reality. I guess at that point you need to ask, is it a marketing problem or a game problem? What are people saying? Should you have tried solving this, 2 months into the game versus 2 years into the game? Gold can only be earned via the garbage slime. Players to figure out how to minimize items leaving the customers. I want to be careful about things that the player can't really do anything about. So like your workers fight you on this. So you'd I guess minimize workers and minimize doing quests and maximize the slime. Or maybe I guess you'd actually maximize workers and try to get them to use garbage time to feed to the slime directly. Maybe I'll just write it down and they can just figure it out. Selling customers steal items. Item sales are worth nothing. Or maybe 1G, no matter which item you sell. Yeah, maybe at least 1 gold. You have to figure out how to maximize the garbage slime. Maybe we double the number. I don't even know what would make this interesting, actually. Maybe the slime also has like twice the hunger rate. There are a few paths, but are they interesting? 2 sales is my expectation. Then you've accomplished your goal. Trying to keep expectations low so my reality will always be better. I think that's also a good idea. It's kind of essentially what stoicism is. But I think it's hard to not get expectations when you work on something for like a year or 2 years or something like that. Hey, okay. And no worries, yeah. If you ever can't join the stream, that's totally fine. If I were to poke holes in this list as of right now, why would I opt to use the treasure room at all for number 2? For number 2, why would you opt to use it at all? Presumably because we'd balance the win condition around you having to use the treasure room. So you could opt to just go with farming and with the fishing pond. But yeah, I would assume that this would be... So, by the way, 15 minutes sounds like a nerf. It isn't. Because remember that every special key is -3 minutes and modifies the loot. And up until now, you've only been able to put in 2 keys. But once you can put in 5 keys, the amount of loot you could have could be, like 4 times 4 times 3 or something like that. So you could actually get 48 items per chest. This is like a massive buff to the treasure room. It doesn't sound like it because the time to open sounds like, oh yeah, that's a problem. But it's actually not a problem. It's a buff. So presumably the amount of power you'd get through this would be like so much more. But hey, if you manage to beat it without doing that, then fine, I guess. I don't know. I think the point of any of this stuff is, did you have fun playing through it? So yeah, the bottom line, like, doesn't matter what else is true, is did you have fun trying these challenges? If yes, nothing else matters. Like, it could be super imbalanced. It could be that people played every single one of these the exact same way. It could be that they idled their way through or something. But if they're like, cool, I beat challenge number 9. What's challenge number 10? I'm looking forward to playing that. Then mission accomplished. Adventurers need power from chest items to reach later locations. Yeah, we might need to do something like that. Yeah, maybe enemies are more powerful here. Yeah. And by the way, this is under the assumption that we end up adding need to add like 30 twists. So imagine that there's one that says something like every time you harvest a crop, put 1G toward a key to be ground up, or in the weapon grinder. So like as you harvest crops, you're actually getting keys. And most of the time, this is like, yeah, I don't really care about that too much. But in this particular one, you're like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing. So I think those moments of excitement and like allowing you to change the rules in a way that benefits you, I think it'd be interesting. But I do see the point you're talking about. And this is one of the things I was thinking about originally when we had like farming specialization. The whole point was to start you with the farm, but the farm is just one of 3 ways to boost your adventurer's power. So yeah, what if you ignored the farm? And the only real way to stop that would be some kind of system hate. But we could also add system love into the game to make the farm even better. But either way, again, this is just like, I think of it as, I think it'd be fun to kind of mess around with this and feel like you're starting at a different point that, oh, maybe you had to work your way up to this in the last game, but now you're just starting there. But something else is maybe worse. But yeah, we'll have to see. As mentioned, I think it just feels like a step in the right direction. All right, so what other ones do I have here? Oh yeah, start with the farm. Start with the farm and probably lots of the perks maxed out. But seeds cost more. And enemies are harder. Fun watching them bounce around at max speed. Maybe customers time out if not satisfied with the purchase fast enough. So your challenge, are you suggesting that they start at the minimum speed or the maximum speed? Because I think just starting you with more workers, I think this would be a lot of fun. Like we basically have, we do something like this, and I click this button a couple times, and we're like, okay, play challenge mode now. And yeah, you send your adventurer into battle, and they're going to earn an item, and they're just all going to get picked up immediately. And so you hire another adventurer and send them into battle too. And yeah, I guess I can hire even another one. So you never need to manually move anything, really. The shops are going to clog pretty quickly if they didn't take 20 seconds to win this. What do you think about pre-made corn keyboards? I think they're a good idea in general. Like if you don't feel like building your own keyboard and if the cost difference isn't such a crazy amount or it's not going to break your bank, like I would just get a pre-made one. I was thinking the goal is to stack worker speed, but starting is also fine if that works out well. Well, one of the things I was thinking about earlier was what if there was a challenge where the whole goal was basically like get 10 levels of a certain perk and there kind of wasn't any other way to win it. So let's say shiny loot was max of 10 levels and it was like plus 25% value and then plus 50% and then plus 100% and then so on and so forth until it's like small potions are selling for like 500 gold. So you don't even need to fight in a higher location. It's 3,500 rupees, really? That seems like a really good deal. Can you link to the site where you found that? That's nuts. Yeah, that's nuts. All right, where are the rest of the challenges? I want to see the ones that I already had here. Adventuring. Adventuring was start with more adventurers. They have some perks, but the cost of everything else is increased, regenerates slower, and increases the cost of the adventurers themselves. I'm not sure how interesting that one is. Adventurers all start out with some number of battle perks, but hiring them is very expensive, and they regenerate slower. Wow. Are there, yeah, there are decent reviews and everything. I'm impressed that they got this down to this cost. And it's got a case. Oh, wait. Do you, hang on, I'm going to click this off screen really fast. Oh, okay. This is without anything apparently, right? Yeah, this is not a pre-built on its own. What you're getting for that price is just the PCB. So assuming you want the keyboard with keys on it, you're spending roughly double that amount. And then case, this doesn't add money, does it? No, it doesn't. Yeah, no, that's the same. Yeah, so it's not exactly that price. Tell me as well if it's good enough. I think that's kind of up to you, right? Like it's a corn keyboard at the end, so if you like the idea of a corn keyboard, then yeah, I mean the keys that they're selling, assuming these are pictures of them, they look fine. The chocolate ones are actually pretty expensive though. I don't know why they're charging so much more for that. You might want to get it with no keys and then just get the keys yourself. Hey, Vibe. Because the keys shouldn't be very expensive. And also, they're super easy to install. You just like snap them onto the top of it. Unless they're talking about switches as well. It's kind of hard to know from just that. But yeah, I would look into that stuff and figure out what do you want to provide yourself. Because in terms of difficulty, I would say soldering is the hardest. And then, like, assuming they already have sockets for everything, putting switches and keycaps is like something anyone can do. This takes no skill. This takes skill. Soldering takes skill. They might not be hot swap, so if you need to solder. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I would look into. And then do you feel like ordering from two different places? Will they ship at different times? What if, I don't know, any other number of things could go wrong? All right, industry was starting with a bunch of workers, garbage enjoyer. That's pretty much kind of like what we have here, customer steal items. Item sales. All items sell for 1G. Huh, interesting. We have the garbage slime eats from the warehouse as a trade-off, don't we? Yeah, garbage slime eats from warehouse. Hmm. Okay, what else do we have here? Enchanting. This was start with the enchanter and practically everything, but you can't increase worker speed or customer speed. Enchanter can't get perks to increase worker or customer speed. Where are the other ones? Storage enthusiasts. You start with max storage, but what? You get fewer customers, get less loot. I'll write it down. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but we're just coming up with a list of these anyway. Start with all storage possible, but, and then these. Okay, what else do we have? Pirate would start with a treasure room and fishing. Never coded any of that stuff. And then chaos. Yeah, so I don't have a fishing one yet. Players limited to just one adventurer of their choosing. One adventurer. but like all the battle perks get funneled into that adventure. That'd be kind of interesting. Solo. You get one. How about you only get your starting adventure, which is totally random, but they get all battle perks. This would probably be incredibly broken incredibly quickly. Probably need to make battle perks cost a lot more, because you'll quickly get to like 100% dodge or 100% mitigation and then be invincible. I think that would be fun. I think this is kind of indicative of the kinds of challenges I'd probably want to do, which are, they're like zany, they're out there. It's not intended to be super balanced. It's just like, how quickly can you break the game? And I wonder if we can ratchet that up for all these other ones too. Like some will probably be slightly more of a puzzle, but the ones that aren't, like starting with a farm, we should probably make it break the game even more. Yeah, well, anyway, there was some other thing that I had written up here, right? Win that challenge using mushy. I mean, it'd probably be very easy. Like, if I just randomly give them, how do I even do this? Town challenge mode functions. There was some meta perk thing. Random battle perks. Here it is. Okay, so let's give Mushy like 15 battle perks. So shuffled classes, we're not going to do that. We're going to say adventure class equals adventure class dot, where's the mushroom there? And we're going to say num perks is equal to, let's say 15. Okay, and now let's try that out. So the mushroom is going to be level, I guess, 16 technically. So I click challenge mode, I click new game here. I unlock all the characters. Yeah, level 16. Haste 80%, lifesteal 25%, return damage 30, dodge only 2%. Fortitude reduces damage taken by 14%. And we got a bunch of perks. And what's that do? Upon dying, increase the power of your allies. Okay, well, a lot of this is based on dying, so I guess it's not that good. But still, let's send them into the jungle and just see how they do. I'm probably gonna die. Make a fool out of me. Oh, they kill everything in almost one hit. And they steal a bunch of life. Okay. Well, that's too bad. I think they have a chance of winning this. But I think they need to knock out a couple of enemies pretty fast. See, he's overpowered. Well, okay, if I start again and I actually get some dodge chance, I bet he could win. There, dodge 27%. That's probably way better. Yeah, half their skills are pointless. But all right, now let's go try that over in the jungle. Now I think they're going to win. Yeah, now they're taking less damage. They still might die. Oh my god, they won. They did it. It just took like a, what was it? 27% dodge chance. And they're not even going to win every time. Nope. Yep. Too bad. But that's where we set the number of perks equal to 25. And now they should definitely win, right? Every single battle. Every battle ever. Haste 160%. Lifesteal 47%. Dodge 20%. Okay, they should definitely stomp the jungle. I don't think that there really truly should be no challenge here now. Because they have a crazy amount of stats. Yeah, they're basically at full life the whole time. So now let's try the next location. Oh yeah, easy. Okay, I think they die in the Inferno though. They might even die in the Deep Forest. Because they're fighting, what, 8 enemies here? 7? Nope, they beat this one too. Yep. And they're dead there. Yeah. But you know what? If we put them in with even just a couple of other adventurers, like these, then them dying means they will use their ability and then come back to life. Although I guess all the other adventurers are going to die. So it doesn't really matter. Well, that was fun. All right, just for laughs. Let's set this to 55. How much did mine cost? I made mine myself, and I think the total parts cost was like 140 or $150, but I ended up with a lot of extra parts because I couldn't buy just the exact number that I needed. Okay, so now we have level. All right, so haste is 346%, dodge is 55%, lifesteal is 111%. Can they beat this area on their own? Yes. Yeah. Also, they should have every skill maxed, I bet. Yep, they do. All right, anyway, here's some ideas for challenges. Let's look at the next question. So how different do they feel? How do they get you to make different decisions? And again, this is with the assumption that twists are going to change things even more. So imagine something like every time you win a battle, you get, I don't know how we do that. Yeah, I don't know how we would do that. Maybe we change the rules of the mode completely. We say something like adventurers have experience points and they just need to win battles. Hmm. And then we eventually need to figure out an order for this. I think chaos should be toward the bottom. And I think some of these are probably more fun than other ones. Like starting with small battles is probably not great. I think starting with something obvious like the farm is probably pretty good. In fact, I think the interesting ones are kind of like this stuff. So you start with 15 workers. Don't we need some difficulty modifier here? Hmm. I don't know. I think we should maybe make the challenges a little bit faster on average. I don't know. Anyway, all right, whatever. Here's some ideas. Challenge ideas. All right. So, how different do these feel? Let's pick any two random ones. So I'm not looking at the list. Let's look at like 9 and 3. So worker frenzy and limited shops. So in worker frenzy, you're starting out, you have a ton of workers. I guess you're not manually moving items. And I guess your storage probably doesn't matter at all. So you wouldn't probably get the warehouse. And you probably wouldn't care about worker speed all that much. Yeah, quick menu's not that important. Also, I feel like we probably should start you with a quick menu or make it cost a lot less. No, we shouldn't start you with it because I want people to be able to not get it, maybe? I don't know. Need to lower the cost of the quick move menu or just start you with it. Yeah, so all right, there are certain things you probably wouldn't prioritize very much, but it's not a ton. And I guess all of these should probably lean into some of the twists. And I don't know what the twist would be. Maybe it's like every time have to be something related to workers, right? I guess it could be something like when a worker stocks an item for you, it's worth more. Should that be it? Disable the quick move menu? It could be. I don't think it's going to effectively do anything. The quick move menu is disabled. Disable all interactions. Yeah, we could. Possibly even all item interactions. Z, 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 Z. I think that is fair feedback. I still think you'd be making some decisions here. You just wouldn't be moving items around. And as a one-off challenge that takes maybe 25 minutes or something, I think it could be fine. I think what I need to do is I need to test this with like 5 of these and see, are these actually doing something? So where is this? We probably want to make only like 5 of these challenges to see if this truly is going in the right direction. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, unless if they only take like 5 minutes to make, then we may as well make more of them and ask which ones are the most fun. Gonna suggest what? I wonder I would go fishing over farming if I had to rely on workers to gather. Wait, what? Do you mean wouldn't you go for farming if they're going to harvest for you? Focusing on just a few of them and trying them out? Yeah. All right, anyway, what was number 9? So limited shops. Shops have only 2 storage slots. You can't get the warehouse. So for this, I would want to get as many customers as possible. Customer speed, probably the enchanter to be able to increase the customer speed. And then, yeah, I think a lot of this is going to come down to what other cross-system interactions are there? Because what if there was a twist that said something like items that disappear actually give you like 50% of their value as money? So now not having storage space is actually a benefit. As long as the garbage slime isn't eating everything. Although I guess this is pretty much the same as saying the garbage slime eats everything and just gives you money. It's not quite the same. Waiting them to pick the herbs versus me clicking with the perks. Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I think the important thing is that these are all arbitrary. It doesn't matter what they are. What matters is, are there ways of having some interplay with them? And if there isn't, then it's probably not an interesting challenge. Unless it breaks the game from the beginning, maybe. Would you ever replay these? I don't know. So yeah, I think the important thing is that we need twists to intersect with these challenges in interesting ways. For the limited storage challenge, we could have a twist that actually we are going to probably need to indicate when a meta perk doesn't help you. Yeah. We do probably need to indicate when a meta perk that you have selected won't do anything for the current challenge, since it may not be obvious. If a challenge reduces your storage space and then you get +2 storage for shops, you may want to reassign your points. Could we build custom twists for each challenge? Because the twist for one challenge is likely worthless for many others. Yeah, that could happen. The problem is if we're building a custom one, then that probably becomes the most important one for that challenge. Because otherwise, why would we have built it? So like in this one, items that disappear give you some amount of money. If this is only for the storage challenge, then isn't this like the best twist to get? Like would people restart a run if they don't get that first? I guess if they're going to restart a run, it means that they played enough that they care about it, that they know about it. And that we probably already accomplished our goals if that's happening. Twist that does something when an item disappears. Yeah. Yeah, I think we just needed to try this out. Although I guess we already kind of tried it out. I guess what's different from that? Maybe that's what I should be asking myself. What's different between when we had specializations and now? We already had different starting points. How did that feel? I could just go back to a build of the game where that was the case, right? Shouldn't it even be very easy to do? Because didn't I do all this in a PR? Maybe this one? What does this do? Yeah, so if I go back to this commit, I don't have any changes, right? No, nothing reasonable or nothing I want to keep. I am 4.5? No, I'm not. Git check out this. You're in detached head. Okay, so let's go try this out. Reload and play. So if I'm not mistaken, this should be the mode, or this should be the version of the game that had different specializations. It's going to start me inside the game. Yeah. So here we go. So this is kind of what I was thinking. We're going to essentially have these sorts of things still. Like let's say we pick farming. Start with a farm maxed and most of the perks. Yep. Okay, then we pick this. So enemies do more damage. Seeds cost more. You can't build the fishing pond. So now we start this run. Let's turn this on. So there's that. I'm going to go start a battle. And hire another adventurer. And start another battle. I only have the one worker. Seeds cost more. I'm not even getting potions yet. Ran into an issue? What was the issue you ran into? Because I do want to upgrade at some point, and there are a couple of things that sound like they're going to be nice about 4.5. Too close to launch? Yeah. Yeah, you're doing early access next month, right? Let's get that. Let's get another perk too. Sure. Alright, so all that stuff. I don't know how long I'm going to be playing this for. I just wanted to try it out and see. It's nice starting with a pumpkin there already. Oh, nice. They bought some. I could be using keyboard shortcuts too. I probably should. Next best, then early access. Make a project with custom style box and main theme. Oh, man. Yeah, that sounds like something having to revert for. It's too bad. All right, so now we have a bunch of sludge, and we should probably wait until we can hire another adventurer. Nice. Buy another one. Buy some more stuff. I need the money. That's all I can afford. I need 4 gold. Give me the gold. Anybody? There's 3. Oh no, that was 4 because I have shiny loot. All right, so cleric. Yeah, let's go to cleric. All right, send the cleric into battle. Get rid of all these things. And start getting some battle perks. Ooh, I'm gonna go with that one. Now they're for characters we don't have. All right, so let's pick the golem. We just need all the potions we can get. Oh, I don't even have the rogue. That's a good thing I didn't pick that earlier. Yeah. I think this can be interesting. And I think all the perks that intersect with the farm would make this interesting. Now you have consolidated difficulties in the same run. That's not the only real difference. The other difference is the meta perks. So I don't have any meta perks, but you can kind of consider starting with all of this to sort of be like the meta perks. Anyway, yeah, so difficulties are different. The timer can't be ignored. Meta perks now exist. Didn't I write some document about all this stuff? I probably got rid of it. Well, I got rid of it from here at least. Challenge mode. Yeah, it was this stuff. So ease people into it. Yeah, there's a tutorial. That doesn't really matter. This, and this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just the timer, difficulty, and meta progression. So how did I feel about this? I did like the idea of some of these things, but that's because they weren't really themed as challenges. It was the difficulty that was themed as a challenge. This was themed as, what do you want to start with? And I like that idea. I don't think meta perks totally capture that idea right now. And I don't know if they need to. I think I'm trying to think about this. So we'd put all this into our difficulty track, like challenge number 1, farming, challenge number 2, adventuring. We would not have a choosable difficulty. You'll just have the same constraints no matter what, and it'll just be how long does it take you to beat it. And we'll have meta perks. I mean, that's basically the set of changes, right? That doesn't sound too crazy. I think we could get this done in a week and then try this out and see if it feels better. But I think the new set of changes, all right, so maybe I should do this. Maybe this should be like change set number 1, and I'll make a new tab here and we'll call it change set number 2, and put this up here and just copy the whole thing. So the date is now today. Context of what we're doing. After the changes specified in, I can link to this, right? Yeah. Change set number 1. We got some, like, somewhat negative feedback. And what were the main problems? I wrote those down too. These. People don't like twists. People want faster meta progression. More meaningful meta progression. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. And the game doesn't feel too different from the base game. I think this is the most important thing. General plan on how to fix this is going to be reintroduce or like get rid of the difficulty track, which kept stacking difficulty modifiers for each level. With, what are we saying, like standalone challenges? Increase the rate of meta progression. Remove the negative aspect of twists in favor of positive ones, positive only twists. and make many more twists that can change the rules of the game slightly. Anything else that we decided on here? What else is in this? Make specific challenges. Yep. Meta perks can largely remain the same. Nice with perk points. And yeah, some quality of life things. I think this is mostly it, though. Place the difficulty track, increase the rate of meta progression, remove negative aspect of twist, and make many more twists that can change the rules of the game slightly. That's pretty much it. Xyletics, are you still there? I'm curious what you think about this, because my general take from all the feedback I read is that probably most people would be on board with this on paper, except for Xyletics. You are? Okay. So this is not meant as a jab at you, by the way. I just wonder if this sounds good or not. Let's go close out of these things. We're back on main, right? Yeah. I already hate it. No, but for real, do you dislike it? If so, do you dislike it for any particular reason? Because I think if I were to guess what your pushback is, it's kind of what you already described in Discord, which is that this probably won't make the runs feel all that different. I'm sure you like this part, the increased rate of meta progression, and probably this part, the negative aspect of twist. But this is probably what I see being more of a sticking point. But I'm not sure. The more I thought about this stuff at a high level, the more I was thinking about that infinite replayability thing. So I was thinking about Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire has, I wouldn't really say infinite replayability. In fact, I don't know if any game gets to infinite. But some people play for such a large amount of time that I guess what you'd consider to be infinite replay would be like more than, let's say, 200 hours of gameplay. So like most multiplayer competitive games that have stuck around for a while, those are probably infinitely replayable. Right? You think of like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, I don't know, any of those sorts of games, even like Magic the Gathering. So anyway, those sorts of games like Minecraft, it's not competitive multiplayer, but Minecraft is definitely up there. There are lots of games like that. And I would say Slay the Spire is in this category because it's at least that people can play for tons and tons of hours if they want to. Anyway, the thing that I think about for replayability is multiplayer kind of has it on easy mode in terms of replayability, in that playing against different players will feel different. This is true of practically every multiplayer game. Like, people have different styles, they have different strategies, they have different abilities. Like, maybe someone's really fast at doing something, so they play a certain way, and another person is, I don't know, really good at strategizing, or teamwork is different. So anyway, those sorts of things are just kind of given for free in a multiplayer game. But then in the single player games that are sort of infinitely replayable, it's either that there's a lot of content and challenges, or it's a sandbox, or, I mean, there's a bunch of other reasons why. Yeah, Balatro is another one of those kinds of games. I feel like games that are roguelike, that are made like that by default and have a bunch of challenges, they probably all kind of slot in that Slay the Spire, Balatro style. It's like you could play it for a very long time. Anyway, I don't see Skeleseller fitting into that. I think Skeleseller is meant as like a laid back game. So I think if we went the more infinite linear progression, people might play a little bit more. But I still think that would only appeal to some of them. I wouldn't say I wouldn't like it. It's more so that I'm not sure much will change from the feel, which was a lot of players' concerns. If you can't build a farm, pond, or treasure room, what's really changing? You now have less to do, but nothing's really changing. Your twist ideas may be able to make it change enough, but it's hard to say without seeing the direction you want those to take. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's another thought in the back of my head, which is that, let's say this stuff works, and we'll put works in quotes there. eventually we can add new systems to the game with challenge mode in mind from the beginning. So for story mode, we could say something like, this system has a specific purpose. It comes in toward the end of the game, or it may just not even exist. But for challenge mode, we could say something like, the early game impact is going to be this, the mid game impact is going to be this, the end of game impact is going to be that, or like, here's why you might build this thing, or here's what purpose it covers. How do you win? How do you win in Skeleseller? Story mode in Skeleseller is just beat the final boss. And challenge mode is get X money. That's it. That's how you win. Anyway, this is pretty minor because this isn't going to impact the first launch of the game. This is going to impact like post-launch. Make like a mining DLC or something. Hey, TJ. And I think this is one of those intangible things because I sort of generally agree with the whole like, what will this change? And yet I still think like tiny rule changes make you experience the game differently, which can be interesting. Have I started balancing? Yeah, I've started doing some balancing. And I was thinking about this. I played various versions of World of Warcraft. There was the original, which is now, I guess, like vanilla. And then there was classic. And then there was something called Season of Discovery. And for this one in particular, they sped some things up. They largely increased the number of abilities you have at any given level. And then they're just like, I don't know, kind of like different synergies and different things to think about. You'd still play it and be like, yeah, this is the same game. It's the same areas, it's the same enemies, it's the same items most of the time. But it was different enough that it kept a lot of people captivated. And I guess all I'm trying to get at here is different enough is really hard to gauge. And it makes me wonder, take any successful game, what is the minimum you'd have to remove to make it unfun? So for example, if you take any game and you remove all of it, then the game's not fun because there's no game anymore. But that's the maximum you'd have to remove. What's the minimum? So if we take a game like StarCraft and we're like, okay, now there are only 2 races instead of 3. I think the game would still be fun. So I don't think that's the minimum you'd have to do. It would be probably less fun because there'd be less just kind of surface area of the game. But yeah, I wonder if you were like, I don't know, you cut out some building or some unit. Maybe you take out, yeah, I don't know what it'd have to be. I guess this is a difficult challenge. And that's, I sort of proving the original point is like different enough is hard to gauge. Working on a deck builder roguelike prototype, currently stuck between adding new mechanics and balancing the old ones. I think there's got to be a mix of the two happening. But I think the very first thing to figure out is the game fun? And sometimes games aren't fun because of bad balance, in which case then the balance becomes more important. PvT every match. I just never like mirror matches in basically any game. I don't like watching them in StarCraft. I didn't like playing them when I was playing Smash. I just don't think they're interesting. Hey, Schrodinger's. Remember a lot of games I played growing up had infinite replay through randomness and a sense of multiplayer competition, even as a single player experience. For example, what if challenge mode had seeds, so let players play the same run, global leaderboard, then players could find difficult seeds to compete for the most money or something. I still think the number of people who are going to try to compete on a leaderboard is like a minority of players. So I think leaderboards are generally a good idea as like as an additive thing, but I don't think you should hinge on the leaderboards. Because how many players don't care about them? So that if the game mode isn't fun, they just be like, well, I'm not touching this. Like, I probably played for more than 100 hours of Slay the Spire, and I've never touched the daily climb. I don't even know what that mode is. I've just never tried it. I haven't been interested. I'm like, oh, the main game mode is fun enough that I don't want to even see what this is. And maybe I'll kick myself later and be like, man, I really should have tried that sooner. Yeah, the leaderboards, there are going to be some number of players who look at it and they're just like, what? Who cares? Like, what do I want to do with this? Now, I recognize that the flip side of that argument works too. There are going to be some people who see it and they're like, I am very motivated to keep playing. But all I really want, the main goal I have here is just have players feel like they got their money's worth. And if they did, then it doesn't matter how we got there. So if reviews are really negative and they're like, man, we really want leaderboards, I think we can add that later, but I don't think we need to over-index on it at first. Creating a roguelike out of a game that wasn't designed around it. Some small things change, but generally you're performing the same actions. Things is fine, not drastically changing. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we're getting kind of closer to where we need to be. But yeah, it's definitely hard to say. Twist would give you the opportunity to have things feel different, though it makes me think that there should be a limited amount like there is now and make them very impactful. I think this is one of the things that playtesting will give us more clarity on. So like the twists that we have now, I wonder, I actually do wonder about this. Let me go back into where they are right here. So these are mostly readable as just English, right? You get free treasure chests, you have different adventure limits. So you can imagine what these things do. I wonder if we just took out all the negatives here. So there were no dud perks or whatever. When you got to that dialogue in the game, it was just like, hey, pick a positive thing you want. If all we did is that, I wonder how people would feel about challenge mode. One, they would look forward to the perks, the twists, I mean. And they never get into a state where they're like, I'm not going to pick one of these twists because it's too negative. That couldn't happen because there wouldn't be anything negative here. These are all just straight up positives. So that would be a positive change. And then they would potentially change your run a little bit, but we don't have very many of them. But when I play and I see something like free treasure chest, this does drastically change the run. This is like, go get the treasure room as soon as possible. So this does change how I play. And it's like now prioritize being able to get all of the free treasure chests you could possibly get. Different adventure limits, that's also immediate impact. Enemy stat multiplier is immediate impact, but not in a way that you really need to do a whole lot about it. Sometimes it might cause you to go to a different location. Farm crop value doesn't feel super different. Town per cost doesn't feel super different. Fish give gold does feel like, okay, time to go get the fishing pond. Garbage slime meats from warehouse, again, probably changes my priorities of perks. Same thing with free guild supplies. And what is grant storage? Grant storage is one of the, just gives you a perk sort of thing. So anyway, I do think twists change your gameplay already. It's just the negatives also change your gameplay, and I don't know if we needed both of them. So I've got to think about that. And I don't know how many is going to be the right amount here. Like, is it right now? I think it's something like perk number 5, 18, and 34 gives you a twist. Maybe what we do is we say it's like perks. I still think 5 is pretty good, but then maybe like 10 and maybe like 16. Maybe something like that could be good. Something like 50% of players didn't complete the first quest or tutorial. I wonder how much this is true about most games. I think that shows a different trend in gaming, which is that gamers tend to acquire games that they don't play. So some of them open a game and then don't do very much. Like I played Silk Song for about 10 minutes myself, and I have 5 out of 1,000 achievement points on Game Pass as a result of something I did in the game. I don't know what. And I don't plan on ever trying the game again until I can play it with a controller. I do want to give it another shot. I don't want to play with a keyboard. That was miserable. The seed aspect could be used among friends too. Could be used to help foster a community. Yeah, I think the game would have to lend itself well to that. So a seed in Skeleseller, I would think you'd need the same starting point exactly. So let me put it this way. I think what could work in Skeleseller is a sort of a daily challenge. We pick your meta perks, we set a seed, and we pick the challenge, I guess. And then we have this daily thing. I think that could work. I think we could do that. I don't know about letting you do this for any run, but maybe. Getting reduced per cost with 10% left to go feels bad. Yeah, maybe I'll look that over. Maybe we should change how twists show up to take into account how far into the run you are. That way you don't get something like minus 5% perk cost when you're about to win. Maybe they change quite steeply at that point, like minus 95% perk cost. Do you intend to support controllers? Maybe. Yeah, just maybe for right now. Is there difficulty in challenge mode? Harder modes add the possibility of negative perks. I don't think difficulty really works with this game. So the only real axis along which there's difficulty right now is how fast can you win? And that's about it. And I don't think people would like negative perks to be added in, unless maybe it was just part of the challenge. Yeah. I'm thinking, what if you amp them up? Take number 2 from the challenge mode ideas, 15-minute treasure chest, and give that to the player as a twist option. You can definitely start with what is already existing, but I'm imagining that you load up a challenge and then immediately you pick a twist for the run that has this type of high impact. Wait, I don't think I totally follow this. Let me read this again. Take number 2 from challenge mode ideas. That was... Oh, I think it was back when it was number 2. 15-minute treasure chest and give that to the player as a twist option. You can definitely start with that, with what's already existing. Load up a challenge and immediately pick a twist for the run that has this type of high impact. Okay, so at least to address part of this, which is the idea of present a twist immediately. I had thought about this and I ended up rejecting the idea. And I think it was for a couple reasons. One, you already would have picked stuff leading up to starting the run, so that if you then started the run and you're like, well, now I'm picking a twist pretty much immediately, it's like you're further customizing that challenge in a way that I think it would make you like, you pick too much stuff early on. You may like save scum the run to get the twist you want, rather than having you wait a little bit longer. And finally, you wouldn't be basing the decision on anything that's happened yet. This is why I think delaying it, at least for a little bit, is good. But I think there's another idea that you said here, which is something like the challenges are really just strong twists. And yeah, I think that's kind of the case. But also, challenges provide negatives in a lot of cases. E.g., you can't build something, some rate is changed, etc. So it is possible that we say something like, yeah, treasure chests are now take 15 minutes to open as a twist, but how often would people pick that? Unless I guess it also came with the whole, like, you always get rare keys now. And then is that just the most powerful thing? Are all the twists so powerful that you could just pick any of them and you win? I think they need to change the rules in a way such that you end up changing the rules. You stack twists in such a way that the rules are now in your favor and that not just any random 3 of them could have worked. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I guess that's a conclusion from this. The effect of this thing, chests are super powerful, is so strong that you would always pick it if it were offered as a twist. If other twists were commensurate in power level, then you could pick any of them and always win. And I think it should be about like changing the rules enough to make sense for your challenge that you're on. Maybe a fixed negative that's known going into the challenge so you know what to expect. Yeah. That's essentially what we're designing here. So that's, I think, how things are going to change here. You will know going into a challenge what the parameters are of that challenge. Hey, Goose. So maybe I misinterpreted what TJ was saying, but we will have negative stuff added in through challenges. There might be a like you can't build this thing or items sell for less or something like that. Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. All right. So what time is it? It's about 11. So here's what I'm thinking. I'll take a quick break and then we'll start forming a to-do list of all this stuff. And then I'll probably take a lunch break and then we'll start coding in the afternoon. Something like that. But I got to take a break for now. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Hello again. Hey, Dudikoff, Nico, and Taki. Yeah. Okay, close the game. Close the game. There we go. Yeah, so to-do list time. So let's try to convert this stuff into to-do items. Do we need to change the tutorial? I don't think so. I'm just gonna delete that. All right. Well, this again. This again. Okay, so what do we say? Like custom challenges, or maybe addressing feedback. Goals, get challenge mode to be fun. All right, let's make this a checkbox. Okay, so this is a quality of life thing we should probably do. QOL changes. Let's put this over here and this over here and close both of these things. And then go figure out where that list went. Because closing it scrolls things. Yeah, so it's up above. Is it up above? I don't even know. I guess we could just search for 15. Why does this show up 66 times in this document? Yeah, here it is. Okay. Okay, so introduce specific challenges again. The difficulty track would get replaced by a challenge title, description, and constraints. The constraints would show from challenge mode objective details. I think they're showing right now, just the last one. We also changed, they're no longer cumulative. We need to generate a million new twists. How fun. Okay, so let's click this. You hover over this thing and it says newest difficulty modifier. Yeah. Search for newest difficulty modifier. Hey, Carson. Let's turn off the music here. All right, what else? Make it so that constraints aren't cumulative across all difficulty levels. So balance bronze around having the expected number of perks, but playing. Actually, how should I do this? Balance a gold medal around me playing with the expected number of perks. Meta perks. It's fun, hard to keep up via typing, which is probably, perhaps some things don't come through clearly. Yeah, doesn't help that I'm still working too. Yeah, I think it's a beneficial process for me, and I think it's probably interesting to watch this stuff unfold, because I mentioned this before, but when you look at any finished product, it's almost impossible to tell what got them there. And take anything like Super Mario Bros. If you just played the original Super Mario Bros., you don't know if it was originally a puzzle game. Like, it could have been. It wasn't, but it could have been. And you'd never have any indication of that. And in this case, it's like we're going to have made like systems A through like M by the time this is done, and find out that systems B and whatever, like F, didn't work, and system E was the best, and we kept it, and then we changed a couple other systems. It's like by the end of that, then this game is going to be like, it's going to be system A, it's going to be like B prime, it's going to be like F prime or something, and maybe like system J, whatever. And you might be like, oh, that's how the game was designed. It was designed with those 4 systems right from the get-go. Like, no, it wasn't. It was an incredibly circuitous process. All's going pretty well, Carson. The short story of what's happened is I launched challenge mode. We got some feedback. I addressed it. We got some more feedback, and now I'm in the process of addressing it again. And this is normal. This is very normal. I feel like there's this iterative approach of you do something and then get feedback and then improve while the feedback is bad. So you keep entering this loop of keep iterating, keep getting feedback. At some point, you determine that you're either out of resources or your thing is good enough that you can now move on to the next step. So this hasn't been going on for so long that I'm concerned yet. If it had been a year of working on just challenge mode and I'm like, God, the game's still not fun, I don't know what to do, I think it points to just needing to move forward somehow and maybe just put less emphasis on this or lower the cost of the game or something. Hey, bad Chris. Glad to have a tutor or something we need to. Yeah, I hope it's helpful. Like I said, definitely helpful for me. So yeah, now what we're doing is going through the design and converting it into to-do items so that we can just start tackling these later. So challenges are unlocked linearly. Maybe we don't even require a medal. Yeah, I wonder about this. I never really focused on this for too much. So should we require a medal to be able to move on? Should we even tie perk points to medals? I do think you should be able to repeat a run and get more perk points. I think it's a bit weird that you get more perk points for winning in a faster time, since winning faster means you don't need the perk points. Yeah, this is a bit strange. There are systems like this in a lot of games where, imagine something like this, like win in 10 minutes or less, you get, 5 bonus points or whatever. Win in 15 minutes or less, though, and you only get 3 bonus points, and then win in like 20 minutes or less and you get 1 bonus point. I wrote this out kind of stupidly, but you can imagine what the system's supposed to be here. So it's like, if you can do this, you don't really need the bonus points. You've already kind of proven that you're good enough to have not needed a bunch to begin with, I guess. But on the flip side, I guess it encourages you to repeat some of these if you weren't good enough. So yeah, I think we should. I think the answer is yes for this. Yes, it gives you something to work toward and rewards you for finishing sooner. You should probably change their ratios though. And then requiring a medal to move on. So if we don't require a medal to move on, then it means that you could play through every single challenge and just not have the number of meta perk points needed to be able to even get bronze, but it wouldn't matter because you'd still be able to move on. Yeah, I don't know about this. Because if you didn't like a particular challenge and didn't want to do it again, I think you should just be able to keep playing. Finally downloaded and got into Godot. Tested a few ideas and working through documentation. Nice. Also, hi, Zephyr. Welcome in. Hello, Evelyn. One thing I like about Realm Grinder is there are skills that multiply off of medals and achievements. So it's like being rewarded for having played the game in the past. Is Realm Grinder some like many thousands of hours game? Because I don't know if I've seen this game. It's a clicker game? And it's free to play? Okay, yeah. This strikes me as infinite game with microtransactions. So now let's look at the reviews and see how many hours do people have. 2,800. Not too crazy on some of these though, like 2 hours, 16 hours. Yeah, 1,300, 1,700, 1,200. Oh my God, 7,600. Oh man. Yeah, anyway, for games like this, I think if you're going to have a game that spans like thousands of hours, that yeah, you would need something like that. And maybe 400 hours over the years, yeah. Man. Anyway, the not requiring a medal, I kind of want to try this because I think it's casual. I think we should always like make the casual decision. Quality of life changes don't require a medal to unlock the next challenge. Yeah, it's the casual move to make, so we should do it. Plus, if you don't like a challenge, it'll let you move beyond it. and then update text in a bunch of places to reflect this. I think there are tooltips in several spots that mention needing a medal, e.g. challenge, mode, objective, details, the end screen, and maybe even the new run screen. I don't know about that. All right, challenge ideas. We got a bunch of these written down. I'll just copy paste them for now, I guess. Code specific challenges. Meta person largely remain the same. Twist should be changed. Yep, let's do that. Change twists. Get rid of the negative aspect. We probably need to bump the save version for any of this stuff. Yeah, which is going to invalidate everyone's save data. Probably need to bump the save version, which will invalidate save data. Maybe put a special message for this, or just write a note to include it in the patch log. The plan is to have individual challenges that don't compound but still do the unlock path. Yes. Yeah. And the reason for that was basically like it's less choice for the player, which I think will steer them in the right direction. And it's easier for us to balance if we know the order you unlock them in. Like how you read out your thought process. Not sure I could adopt this level of organization. I was saying this earlier. I think people just work in different ways, and I have a very like text-oriented workflow. And as a streamer, I think it's nice that if you come in late to a conversation, you can typically just look up a little bit in whatever I've been typing and realize what I've been working on. All right, so change twist. Get rid of the negative aspect. Make a bunch of new twists that do cross-system stuff. They should all seem appealing, but they should be situational in terms of which would be best. And consider a matrix design where we list out all systems, and I'll just leave it at this because I don't want to do everything there. All right, what else do we have here? We could have a challenge mode that's practically entirely based around getting that, change mechanics. I'll just write some ideas. Completing a quest gives +3 customers. Killing a boss upgrades a random shop. Increase drops of specific item types. Or add in rare drops. Causes X items to be sold regardless of where they are. Ground, warehouse, or in a shop. Yeah, that's another thing. Consider preventing twists from showing up that wouldn't have much impact. E.g. the minus the town perk cost twist probably only show up as a first or second twist. Change when the twists show up. Maybe on the 5th, the 10th, and the 17th perks. Increase the rate of earning perk points. Lower the cost of the quick move menu, or just start you with it. I think making it cost 1 point is probably fine. At that point, though, I wonder if we should start you with it. No, we should probably just give it to you. Leaning toward just starting you with it. In which case we would remove it from the town perk pool. I understand the logic to help not overwhelm the player, but it's odd to me because let's just say a player really likes challenge X and hates Y, but is forced to complete Y to get to challenge X, which they wouldn't even know about. You have a negative side too, where you're forcing players to play a challenge they don't like to see if they might like the next one more. Yeah, I think that would just be a thing that happens. But also consider that in order to beat probably literally any challenge, if you didn't like a challenge, you could just be like, new game, click the challenge, click start, and then do this. Done, and you'll probably beat the challenge. Now just come back overnight and you'll have won. So that's why I'm not super concerned about this. Like if you really want to skip it, then you'll skip it. But this isn't really all that different from any sort of like linear game. Imagine playing through whatever Final Fantasy VII and being like, man, I don't like the Shinra building. It's like, too bad. You have to do it. It's just part of the game. So I think this is kind of similar. And also, I don't think any are going to be so unenjoyable that you're just like, oh, God, I can't stomach this challenge. And finally, the last thing I'll say is anything that might be polarizing, we could just save toward the end. Okay, so we got all this. Are there any other crazy ideas that we can now analyze through the lens of what I've decided on? Get rid of constraints in the difficulty track. So yeah, no, I didn't like that. Give a unique positive benefit at the beginning to change up what you do. These are kind of just very strong meta perks. It's just they would have been randomized, I guess. And it does make me think that maybe there could be some like ultimate meta perk where you can only pick one. And as soon as you try picking another one, it just like refunds your points for the old one. But I don't think we need any of these now. Yeah. I think these can just be part of the challenge or part of the twist that show up. I really like this twist, by the way. I think it's a cool idea. Could just be a regular perk. No, some of these could just be regular perks. Place difficulty, have a single start new run button, stop randomizing stuff. I guess at some point we need to add in a metal better than gold, which assumes you have every meta perk. This could just be work for later. I don't need to do this now. And for this, these are the specific challenges. Let's put these up here. Just make enough that we can get an idea for whether this is working as a change. And at the end of all this stuff, well, I guess at the beginning of all this stuff, we need to say make a new branch. And at the end, merge and release. Merge the branch. Switch to main. Get the rest of the playtesters on board. I have a list in my Obsidian note. And I guess in the patch notes, mention that your save file is deleted. We're nicer with the perk points though. So hopefully it's not a big deal. Okay, I don't think this is too crazy. Well, it doesn't look too crazy because this just says change twist. But when we add a bunch of new ones in, we got to come up with enough of them. Make sure we've added at least 10 new twists. But probably more like 20 of them. And then should we add any other meta perks? Add some ideas. I don't think we need to do that yet. Yeah. Okay, so now let's look through the feedback again and just see how we generally address some of the points that people have said. So getting less loot and fewer customers didn't feel great. This might happen in a specific challenge, but it won't happen in every single challenge thereafter. So hopefully this has been addressed. And in fact, let me copy all this feedback in the other document and even look at my own stuff. Oh, where does this go? Over here, I guess. Okay, so it doesn't like late game twists yet. Twists. I think twists showed up for pretty much everything. Yep, usually just negative. Did Xyletics say anything about twists? Twists are very punishing. Yeah, so that's hopefully completely addressed. Randomness is challenging. I feel like this is just part of the mode. But hopefully it doesn't feel as bad, especially with faster meta progression. Now, I don't know what is the ideal speed of unlocking stuff, but we're going to increase it. So as long as we increase it, we can reassess afterward. Not too different from the base game. Okay, so this should be slightly more different from the base game. The base game just lets you have everything and everything works in harmony. Now we're going to rely on some rule sets, shoring up any problems you might have had. Progression too slow, twist usually negative. Okay, good. Perks for specific adventures. We're going to address that. Not many meta perks are exciting. This I don't think we're going to end up addressing here. I think meta perks still probably won't be exciting. But that's because twists are going to fill that role. So I guess we are kind of addressing it. Fishing pond is very skippable. Yeah, maybe we should balance the fishing pond just in general. Maybe I lower the egg cost a little bit more. Even if it was like 10 or 20%, that might be enough. I'll write it down for balancing. The fishing pond may need to be slightly better. Maybe lower the egg cost or change extraction to start out better. Xyletics said they were skipping it in practically every run. Deep Force and Inferno aren't doable and they start doing more damage. Very punishing. Wants metal history. Yeah, this I do want to add at some point. Wants right-clicking meta perks. Yeah, hopefully we can get that done. And then suggested a meta perk for having treasure getting sent to the guild automatically. Yeah, this would be pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. Now what about my observations? I feel like we need more content, perks, twists, meta perks. Still want the runs to be even more different from one another. So I think that's one of the biggest questions I want to ask myself. And hopefully I can discover this before we've coded everything. Biggest question, do runs feel different? Am I having fun when I play? I feel like new perks can help balance the fishing pond. All it really needs is more potions to farm more fish, but the potions are too valuable elsewhere at the moment. I think the other thing that would probably help is if it was more one-to-one with the farm. Like the farm fills up and then all your potions are getting dumped into fish, but it's just fractions of a fish. So what if we changed everything? I should probably write that down. We could change this to match the rate of the farm better. E.g., a seed is 2 gold. We could make a fish cost 5 gold and give less sludge and have less HP. Not sure I want to do that though. Hey Krasner, happy Monday. Hope it's a wonderful week. Happy Monday to you too. I hope it's the most wonderful week. I think this will be a pretty good week. Yeah. I've talked about the my classic problem that I have, which is like work on something, hit a problem, think all hope is lost, eventually get over it, and then repeat ad infinitum. And I think I was here in the last couple days. And I don't know if we're here now, but we're about to get back into the work on something bit. And then, yeah, we're probably going to hit another problem. Anyway, I am energized by feedback and then having a plan that will hopefully address that. We're so back. It's so over. We're so back has been my life for years. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the best thing that I've realized is when in this state, realize that it'll get better. It's just it's more like, yeah, have some trust in yourself that it'll get better. Because this is what I do think. I now realize like, oh, hey, not everything's going smoothly, but I'll get back on track somehow. And there's always that panic of what if it doesn't though? Well, yeah, it's having trust. Hey, Rasco. All right, so what else do I have in here? Stay back on this. I think there's some play sculpting we'll have to do. Just increasing the difficulty is only fun if there are wildly different runs within the challenge track. Right now, the only thing changing your runs are twists. Maybe we should have one more that's introduced. Always feels like it's been a while between first and second. Likewise, Codex said the last one should be ignored. I still think I need to take a step back. I think it's necessary. Okay. I want to write some of this stuff down too. Man, there's a lot to do. Probably a good idea as a regular perk. All right, so I have a lot of thoughts about the difficulty track. And I want to write that in the design directly. God, I even have a rationale for why I didn't want this. Okay, so let's write an update here. I briefly went through a Slay the Spire Ascension system and decided that it doesn't work for Skeleseller for a bunch of reasons. One is that you start at the most powerful you'll ever be and then slowly lose power, which doesn't fit the casual nature of Skeleseller. Two, it doesn't make the runs more interesting in any way. There probably just isn't enough strategic depth for us to keep increasing the difficulty, since there's only so much you can do to work around it. What else? I had a bunch of things written down for why I don't think the difficulty track works. I said it's a feel bad system. Yeah. Okay. No, I think this is good enough. Hey, Hagerman Hour. Just had to believe we'll be back. As you should, want to achieve something, start with believing in it first yourself. I think what I'm talking about is maybe slightly different from that. Like, overall, I've wanted to work on Skeleseller and make it successful. But when you think about it, it will have been like a 2-year long project by the time we release it I mean, hopefully only 2 years at that point. So any of that time, let's say you just split it up into quarters. So it'll have been 8 quarters by the time it's done. A quarter is a relatively long time. 3 months is enough time to, like, I don't know, design entire features, like change the game drastically, test things out, add some quality of life features that people might want. I don't know, any number of things, so that you can consider it to be almost like it's 8 small projects that all form to make a bigger project. And it's enough time to have an existential crisis in any of those 8 quarters of a year. So you might still believe in the project. I guess what I'm saying is at some point you might sort of lose faith in how your process is working. All right, what else do I have here? I think I'm just going to delete this stuff. I probably shouldn't touch meta perk progression too much. I don't think people want an ultra grind. Maybe 1 of 3. I think we need something else to spend money on. There are only 4 things. Yeah, I guess I'll ask that as a question at the end. Other questions? Do you want something else to spend money on? Are runs starting at a decent pace? We shouldn't rely on meta perks to increase the pace. Could have a positive twist, like all hired adventurers get plus X% stat. I mean, I'll write this down to my ideas, I guess. I usually don't want to buy the last perks I've seen a dozen times by then. What if you could ban a perk for some amount of gold? Like, I don't want this perk, so stop showing it to me, and it costs you whatever, 5 gold, and then it increases by 5 gold every time. I don't think I actually want to do that. I think I just need to keep moving perks that are undesirable into meta perks so that they eventually just stop showing up for you. Shuffle perk. We have a reroll already. There are rerolls that you get every 5 perks that you get. Well, yeah, let's say you see this shopping spree potency. I think what we should probably do is just move it to meta perks. Well, not move it, but put it in meta perks such that you can eventually max out whatever perk you don't ever want to have show up. So at the very least, it's like you're paying money to not only get a benefit that's maybe kind of minor for you, but also that will stop it from showing in the pool anymore. But for that, we need there to be a lot more perks than what we have right now. I think this will become clearer as we make it through this. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get this done. Let me open the calendar. I'd like to make all these changes. I want to say by the end of this week, but I don't know how hard it's going to be to code all those twists. But hopefully by October 1st. And then hopefully feedback at that point says, yeah, this is fun. I like this. And then we can just kind of flesh out the rest of the content and enhance the fun rather than change systems again. Yeah, I think the goal here is going to be to do this by October 1st. Yeah. All right, so this is written down. This is written down. Perk point ramp up across difficulty levels may be too fast. I got a silver medal on level 7 and got 11 perk points. Yeah, so I think what I need to do here is speed it up, like front load the perk point earning. I have that written here. Increase rate of earning perk points. Maybe just do this for the lower levels. The lowest levels only give like 2 to 3 points. But then level 7, a silver medal on level 7 gets you how much? 11? Should probably grant like 5 to begin with and have it cap out around 10 or something. I don't know. Shuffle nanotransaction for 1 pico penny. Might be worth ramping up the amount of rep needed for each perk. Early on, you get many perks, but then there's a grind. Not buy everything after a dozen runs. I have to think about this. I don't know how many meta perks we're going to end up with anyway. The goal is for you to, if I were just kind of playwriting this stuff, let's say we had 20 difficulty levels, I would want you to be at maybe like 80% meta perk completion for level 20, so that if you felt like grinding them all out, you could, but that you hopefully wouldn't have to. Yeah. Shop storage perks should probably cost more. They seem incredibly powerful. Same thing with having more customers. I think we need shops to be able to go beyond just 10 slots. I had an idea, which is that perhaps the standalone challenges should just be the challenge track. Like level 1 is a normal game, level 2 is farming mode. Go on for 20 levels, so they're different. Thing here is, yeah, not really certain any of this is going to be fun. Operating under the assumption that people want more of the game. Like for the randomness of meta perks to work, I'm not sure we can make that happen. And state should look like, should you eventually be starting with every building? All right, let's get rid of that stuff. I still need to do this at some point. I'd love to work on that. I just don't know when I'm going to do that. October 1st, take inventory. I mean, fine, I'll put that there too. Request some more playtest keys, update the document about the quantity. Is that in there? I think I'm just going to delete that line. I think I did delete that line. Just put this in your responsibilities. Yeah, the rest of this is fine. Okay, great, whatever. I'm going to delete that. Feedback, journal goes here. Skeleseller challenge mode goes here. Look at metrics, delete that. All right, figure out what's going on with challenge mode. If I were to design this stuff from the ground up, what would it look like? Things to remember. Yep. Yeah, by the way, I can't stress this enough. And I wonder how much this might change the opinions of people in chat, but I keep writing this that Vampire Survivors is the North Star here. That game is a roguelike game. You only have the arrow keys during a run. And I guess you have like a confirm button so that you can pick a perk. But otherwise, yeah, you just have the arrow keys during a run. And like all goals are kind of the same. All builds have the same general goal, which is just do a ton of damage. And yet the game is great. So I don't think we need to do a lot to get challenge mode into a good position. Yeah. I think the game is kind of meant to be maybe not exactly relaxing, but you're kind of on autopilot while you're playing it. And you're thinking about the next thing you're going to unlock. So I think the same thing could happen here. Some people have been complaining about the randomness in challenge mode so far. And I think that's still going to be a difficult part for them to absorb, maybe. They're like, oh yeah, you're offered battle perks for adventurers you don't have. I don't really think that's a problem, though. Spent the morning working on the game design for challenge mode. We'll reintroduce standalone challenges, change twists, and what was the other thing? And increase the rate of meta progression. Spent the afternoon coding some of this. I haven't actually done that yet, but we will. All right, and that brings us to 11:42. Which I think is a pretty good time to go get lunch. Yeah. So the afternoon is just going to be coding, and we're going to start with putting specific challenges back in. And we'll probably code a few, and we'll probably see how, yeah, some of these things pan out. Wow. Yeah, wow. What a day so far. Well, thank you all for watching. Have a good lunch. I appreciate it. I'll be back in about an hour. I'll try to be back by, let's say, 1 p.m. So it's 11:43 for me right now. I'll get lunch. I'll probably be back before like 12:45, but still, I want to give myself a little bit of grace period because I only took one break this morning. And then I assume I'll be coding for like 2 or 3 hours. So if you haven't already joined one of the Discords, there are the links for both of them. And I will see you all in a bit. Thank you for being here.